Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. Marvel, the Kryptonian who ate the multiverse. Chapter 61 Hospital. Raccoon City is a city developed by Umbrella Corporation. When it was still a small Midwestern town, Umbrella comes here. Thus, hospitals, subways, universities, many modern buildings gradually appeared. Every building and every wall in this city is related to Umbrella Corporation. Walking on the streets of this city, anyone you pass by accidentally may be an Umbrella employee. When Leon arrived at Raccoon City Hospital, just then, I heard the confession of an Umbrella researcher. My name is Nathaniel Budd, and the current time is 9:28 on September 21st. I am the director of the Center for Virus Research. I hope someone can come and rescue me, but I'm afraid there's little hope. They wouldn't want me to live. Umbrella, those guys are definitely going to kill me. The biochemical crisis in Raccoon City this time was caused by them. I hope that what I say next can be spread through the video and save more people. At least my reputation won't be too bad. Umbrella Corporation, my employer, ordered me and my team to participate in the research of a biological weapon called the T-virus. Oh my god, what was that noise just now? I'll record it again later. Now I have to go check out what's making the noise outside. It turned out that director Nathaniel Bader was recording a video. This video is the suicide note he prepared for himself. Leon floated outside the hospital, listening to the various sounds coming from his ears. He scanned the building with his supervision. Now the hospital has been occupied by infected creatures. The only living person was the director of the Virus Research Center who had just confessed. But this guy is not far from death. Impressions of Leon. In a few hours, this director will be killed by people sent by Umbrella and the T-virus concentrate will be stolen. But now he is lucky and meets Leon who comes to him. Leon landed, and the Super Mark I controlled by Jarvis arrived late and landed silently behind him. Open the hospital door. Several zombies with bloody appearance turned their heads. They were all in uniform, either doctors, nurses, or security personnel. Deal with them, Jarvis. Leon walked towards where the research director was. Just leave these infected people outside to Jarvis. The research director, Bud, was a middle-aged man wearing a white coat, with a half-bald head and a serious face. He was in his own laboratory, separated from the hospital lobby by a heavy iron door. At this time, a lizard-like monster was hammering outside the iron gate, with its bloody mouth wide open and its roar like thunder. Apparently it was attracted by Director Bud's voice. On the other side of the door, Director Bud, knowing that he had made a stupid mistake, was sweating profusely, covering his mouth and shaking like a sieve. He probably wanted to keep quiet and hold on for a while longer, waiting for the lizard monster to move on to another target. Talk about it. Leon also knew that monster. Hunter Beta, a biological weapon of Umbrella Corporation, was airdropped into Raccoon City for testing. It's considered a small boss in the game. So Leon gave it a face. Throw a punch behind it. A tremendous force explodes. The Hunter Beta and the iron door were blown into the wall of the room and embedded in it like a pancake. Ah! Director Bud was startled by the explosion-like noise in the room and fell to the ground. His expression was horrified. The scene where the iron door was blasted against the wall. It reminded him of a biological weapon from Umbrella called Tyrant. Now that Umbrella has used Tyrant to kill him, he really can't escape death. Director Bud's lips trembled. After realizing that he was doomed, he climbed onto the chair tremblingly. He slid the mouse with shaking fingers and clicked on the video recording again, intending to use the last bit of time to finish recording his unfinished confession. However, before he could utter the first word, Leon walked in. Director Bud? Leon asked. Who are you? Director Bud was confused. How could you not be a tyrant? I'm here to look for T-virus stock and vaccine samples. It would be even better if you could give me relevant research data, Director. Leon noticed Director Bud's rapidly alert expression and changed his tone. Don't think too much. I'm not from Umbrella. I'm only looking for the virus and vaccine to save the city. Save the city? Director Bud is much bolder when facing humans. After all, he felt that at most he would die. The fear in one's heart when dying at the hands of a human being is completely different from the fear in one's heart when dying at the hands of a tyrant. He narrowed his eyes. How do you know there are viruses and vaccines here? No one except Umbrella can know. Leon thought about it and said frankly, I am not from this world. I came here because your world consciousness asked me for help. All the information comes from it. Leon put all the blame on the world consciousness. He speaks his mind in order to improve the efficiency of communication and build trust. After all, in this world, as long as he doesn't do anything stupid, nothing will happen to him. Instead of going to great lengths to fabricate a glorious identity, it would be better to tell him the most incredible truth directly to some extent. As long as he shows his strength, the most unbelievable truth will immediately become the fact that people are most willing to believe. After saying this, Leon didn't care about Director Bud's expression. He puffed up a breath in his chest and blew it out violently. Suddenly, a breath of air shot out like a sharp arrow, blasting a flat round hole in the opposite wall. Amid the flying dust, Director Bud's eyes nearly popped out of his head. When he looked at Leon again, the rational eyes that always advocated science had a bit more fanaticism. Unbelievable. The breath from his mouth can actually destroy the wall. The power required is impossible for the human body. Are you really from another world? Excuse me. What is the other world like? There is also world consciousness. Does our world have consciousness? I knew it. Ha ha ha. Director Bud first muttered something, then began to ask bold questions, and finally burst into laughter. Leon was a little stunned. He thought that Director Bud would continue to question it, and might even be skeptical. But I didn't expect that the other party would laugh hysterically. But it's understandable. It seems that some scholars who love scientific research will become crazy and delirious when they encounter the ultimate problems in their own fields. What's more, what Director Bud encountered at this time was an alien world and world consciousness, a field that is almost impossible for humans to reach. It was very restrained of him not to go crazy on the spot. Snapped. Leon slapped Director Bud on the shoulder. We'll discuss these issues later. Now, can you show me your research materials and results? Director Bader was stunned and touched his half-bald forehead. Yes, please come with me. I have printed all the research materials into paper versions. The electronic versions have been destroyed. I was planning to burn these materials before I died. Luckily you came in time. Chapter 62. Outside the police station. Director Bud took out a thick stack of documents from the safe and handed them to Leon with both hands. This is most of the key experimental data, as well as the research process and conclusions. Do you want to use this information to restart the research? Leon casually picked up the 30-centimeter thick bound document and began to flip through it on the spot. He said calmly, No, I plan to finish reading it now and then go to the Umbrella Underground Research Institute for further improvements. Finish watching now. Bud thought to himself that he would have to watch it until the end of time. However, Leon's action of reading the book immediately caught his eye. That can't be called watching, it's not even browsing. Leon lifted up the thick document by a corner, and his fingers loosened slightly, causing the pages to fall down like shuffling cards. In just 2 or 3 seconds, a thick stack of documents was washed. Leon closed his eyes, and after a few seconds, he pushed the document into Bud's arms. Okay, burn it. Okay, Bud was stunned, his eyes moving back and forth between the documents in his arms and Leon's face with his eyes closed. I mean, I've already read it and taken note of it, Leon explained with his eyes closed. But you turn the pages backwards? Bud didn't even question the rationality of reading and memorizing a 30-centimeter thick book so quickly, because just the fact that the file was flipped from back to front was really explosive. Just write down all the text and then reverse the page numbers in your mind. It's very simple. Leon still closed his eyes. Director Bud's mouth opened and closed. I don't know whether I should believe it or not. Anyway, he is doubting his life at this moment. Finally, he looked at Leon, who was unmoved, and still took the documents to get gasoline and set them on fire. He told himself in his mind, the other party is the savior sent by the world, so it is normal to have some strange things. Leon just stood there with his eyes closed. It's not that I'm pretending to be cool on purpose. Instead, he discovered the anomaly when he wrote down all the experimental data in the file and began to understand it. He found that his thinking became particularly sharp and flexible when he tried to understand the knowledge related to biochemical technology. The speed at which the superbrain processes information has not changed. However, his research talent in the field of biochemistry has greatly improved. Just by recalling the experimental data he had just written down, countless inspirations kept flashing in his mind. So this is the gift. It is indeed a kind of enhancement that I really need. Leon understood. It turned out that the gift that the world consciousness gave him was to strengthen his research talent in the field of biochemistry. If you want to make a comparison, his talent in this area can be said to have reached the highest level in the world of Resident Evil. The corresponding characters are probably William Birkin, Alexia, and Marcus. It's just that these people only have talent, not super brains. So even in terms of creativity and inspiration, everyone has roughly the same talents. But their actual research level is countless levels lower than that of Leon at this time. After Director Bud burned all the information, Leon also opened his eyes. Is there anything else you need? Director Bud immediately came to Leon. Take all the T-virus fluids and vaccine samples you have. We should leave now. Leon shouted outside the room, Jarvis. Jarvis has been controlling the armor to eliminate the infected. It has spread from the first floor to the top floor. The zombies in this hospital were almost killed by it. Is Jarvis your companion? Director Bud asked carefully. We are companions. You will know when we meet. Half a minute passed after Leon finished speaking. The ceiling of the room was suddenly blasted open by a cannon from above. Super Mark I dropped from the sky and knelt on one knee in front of Leon. A frown fell on Leon's face. Is Tony's squatting posture popularized in the Stark family? Exoskeleton mecha. Bud on the side didn't have so many thoughts, he just felt dizzy. It's my artificial intelligence, Jarvis. You can ask him for help if you have anything. After Leon finished explaining, he put the virus concentrate and vaccine that Bud had just taken out into the box and handed it to Jarvis. He reached out and lifted Director Bud's collar. Let's go to the Raccoon City Police Department. Amid the middle-aged scream of Director Bud, Leon and Jarvis soared into the sky one after another. A few seconds later, Leon appeared above the police station and Jarvis was on his way from 10 kilometers away. Director Bud, who was held in his hand, still had a look of shock on his face and his screams were still loud and heroic. Stop howling, we're here. Leon couldn't help but shook Bud's collar. Bud's feet were empty, and he screamed even louder after being shaken like this. Even the zombies that were besieging the police station were attracted. They turned their heads left and right curiously, looking for the source of the scream. Leon simply ignored Director Bud. He turned on the X-ray camera and observed the police station. In the small police station, corpses and zombies are everywhere. The police officers of Raccoon City Police Department, except for the chief, are very competent. The biochemical crisis broke out in the city on September 9th, 3 days ago. It was the police department that responded quickly, setting up shelters, rescuing civilians, and planting explosives on the streets. Only then did they eliminate most of the zombies in Raccoon City, providing a glimmer of hope for the residents who survived in the early stage. But the price is that there are only a few police officers left in the police department today. Of course, this is also related to the police officers' lack of understanding of the T-virus. The police station fell in the beginning because there were infected people among the refugees they sheltered. The infected broke out in the crowd, and the zombies outside the police station continued to attack. Soon there were a large number of casualties in the police station. Now under Lyon's observation, there are only 5 people still alive in the entire Raccoon City Police Department. One of them is the scumbag director Brian Irons, who always stays in the office. During the tenure of this police chief, has been illegally cooperating with Umbrella Corporation, accept bribes to conceal evidence of the other party's crime. He even opened an orphanage next to the police station to adopt orphans as experimental materials for Umbrella. He is a complete scumbag. Leon couldn't stand this kind of scum. He released heat rays directly through the air, penetrating several layers of walls and nailing the director to the leather sofa. Poor Chief Irons. At this moment, he was fiddling with the body of the mayor's daughter on the table, intending to make her into a specimen. But without any warning, 2 red rays came through the wall and pierced his chest. He opened his mouth in disbelief, touched the 2 holes on his chest where blood scabs had formed due to the high temperature, made a gurgling sound, and fell headfirst onto the corpse in front of the table. On the other side, Jarvis finally arrived at Lyon's side. Director Bud also recovered. He looked at the door of the police station below, his mouth wide open. Raccoon City Police Department, are we here yet? Chapter 63. Only 4 people left. He looked up at Leon, who was holding him up. Marvel at, how did you do that? Leon smiled but didn't answer, finally calmed down. To be honest, your scream just now was at least 3 decibels louder than when my brother screamed for help. It was an accident. I don't usually behave like this. Director Bud realized his own gaffe and wiped the non-existent sweat from his forehead in embarrassment. He looked down and saw scattered zombies wandering on the dark street. There were also a dozen guys with eroded chins and arms, blocking the door of the police station and banging on it. What should we do now? Mr. Savior, Bud asked tentatively. Leon smiled. Just call me Leon. The next step is to go into the police station. He began to lose altitude, exhaling freezing breath as he approached the ground. Layers of frost began to spread rapidly across the streets. All the standing and lying zombies turned into ice sculptures one after another. The ice layer covered the buildings within a 300-meter radius around the police station. The entire area was turned into a kingdom of ice. But the magic is, these layers of ice simply cover the surface of objects. It does not affect its internal structure. 1 or 2 sturdy dim street lamps can still glow and emit heat even under the ice, casting strange colors through the solid ice. Wow! It's like the god of ice has swung down his scepter. The frozen street scene reflected in Director Bud's eyes was so dreamy. This analogy is not quite appropriate. Leon put Bud on the ground. After all, I only have you in my hand. Director Bard felt Leon's friendly attitude towards him and laughed. It's my honor to be your scepter. Leon shook his head and walked towards the police station first. Bud followed closely, turning his head from time to time to observe the frozen zombies or street lights closely. He found that the zombies in the ice were not dead, but their bodies were gradually losing activity due to lack of oxygen. I think it won't be long before the zombies in this block die silently. How amazing! He sighed and chased after Leon again. Jarvis was at the end, moving forward with a clanging sound. After bypassing the cars blocking the street, The two arrived in front of the police station. There was a closed iron gate that prevented the zombies from invading the police station. More than a dozen zombies were stuck here and frozen into a whole iceberg. Leon bent his knuckles and knocked, and immediately the iceberg and the zombies inside shattered to the ground. Standing in front of the frozen iron door, Leon looked through the gap at the police station behind the door. Then he asked Jarvis to turn on the armor's built-in sound system. Is there anyone inside? The zombies on the street have been dealt with. Please open the door and let us in. The staccato sound spread throughout the neighborhood, and the 4 people in the police station must have been woken up even though they were wearing earplugs while sleeping. Besides, they didn't sleep but rested in the hall. Leon saw through X-ray vision that the police inside quickly took action. The broadcast of the Raccoon City Police Department accepting refugees is still played on some car radios. As long as they don't break in directly, there will be no conflict with the police. After a few minutes, the front door of the police station building opened. A tall, thin black policeman came out. He put his right hand on the butt of the gun at his waist and held the flashlight in his left hand. He looked around first, then trotted to the iron gate. Behind him, 2 more people came out. They were both police officers in uniform. They stared in amazement at the frost all over the street. Wait a minute. I'll open the door and let you in. The black policeman glanced at the bodies of Leon and the other man, and after finding no obvious wounds and no guns, he immediately prepared to open the door. He looked around and said, "Oh my God, what happened here? Why is everything suddenly frozen? It's September now." As he spoke, he pulled the bolt. However, the door bolt was also frozen, and he tried his best to push or pull it but couldn't get it to move. "No. This thing is stuck inside. I have to find a flamethrower." The black policeman frowned. He looked around again and said, "Luckily the zombies are all frozen and unable to move. Don't make any noise here. I'll be back soon." "No need, officer." Leon called out to the black policeman before he turned around. He grabbed Bud's collar with his right hand, leaped over the iron gate, and landed next to the black man. Sometimes the most primitive way is the simplest. He raised an eyebrow at the black man. The black policeman took a step back and praised, "Is this kung fu? It's an amazing skill. And thank you for saving me the time of having to go out and look for the flamethrower." He pointed at the other 2 policemen and said, "Come with me. Let's go inside first. It's suddenly freezing outside. Maybe I can find you some coats in the police station. No need for clothes. I can handle this temperature. But I have a friend who has to go in with me." Leon snapped his fingers. "Jarvis, come in." The sound of thrusters immediately rang out outside the police station wall, and the steel armor spewed flames into the yard. The black policeman subconsciously pulled out his gun. "What the hell is this? We can go in and talk slowly later." Leon gave a mysterious smile. He walked into the police station first and glanced back before entering. In a building a few dozen meters away, he saw a shadow of a red skirt flash by a window. A few minutes later, in the lobby of the police station. "So, he is the savior. You are the director of the virus center. This is a mecca. The ice outside is caused by his breath, and Umbrella Corporation is the culprit of this crisis." After a few minutes of conversation, the black policeman made a summary. During the conversation, Leon's statement and Bud's guarantee were intertwined. The 3 policemen were skeptical at first. It wasn't until Leon froze a table with his freezing breath that their attitude finally changed. Now the 2 sides have reached a preliminary level of trust. "Okay, we believe it for now." The 3 looked at each other, and the black man stood up and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Marvin Branagh." The black policeman pointed at the other middle-aged white policeman and the fat policeman. "He is Elliot Edwards, and the last one is the fat man. We all call him Lao Mai." "Are there only 3 of you? There's no one else in the police station?" Chief Bud asked. "He is still wearing a white coat," looking very authoritative. Marvin immediately pointed to the medical partition at the back. We still have one person, but his condition is not right, mister. Bud, I'm afraid you have to go and take a look. Bud didn't say anything, but looked at Leon first. After Leon nodded, he agreed, no problem for me, take me to see it. The three policemen looked at each other again, and they could all see that Leon was the dominant figure in this group. This made them believe the two's previous statements even more. Chapter 64 3 Survivors. Everyone is now at the entrance of the police station. Further inside is the reception desk. The reception desk is surrounded by a floor paved with brown marble tiles and ancient load-bearing stone pillars. Because Leon's freezing breath did not reach the interior, so everything here is still the same as before. The whole hall has a retro style. The wall lamps inlaid with stone pillars are plated with gold powder, and the light tone is close to sunlight. Behind the front desk is a statue of the Statue of Liberty. Leon remembered that this police station was originally a museum. Later, it was remodeled into its current appearance by the director. The purpose was to conceal the entrance to the underground Umbrella Laboratory. The entrance is right below the Statue of Liberty and requires 3 stone slabs to open the mechanism. The group walked around the front desk. Between the Statue of Liberty and the reception desk is a makeshift emergency room built with medical partitions. There was a pale-faced man lying on a stretcher inside. He was very strong, with fat wrapped around his muscles and neat short hair, but his body temperature was terribly low. He's infected. Bud saw what was wrong with this man at a glance. He opened the man's body and said, "The wound is on his arm. It looks like the infection will not last more than 3 hours. There is still hope, but I don't understand why you keep an infected person in the police station. It's very dangerous." Recently, Bud has seen too many examples of people killing more people because they couldn't bear to abandon their companions. The 3 police officers who were overjoyed upon hearing that their teammate could be saved now looked silent. He is a member of the STARS team. His name is Brad Vickers, and he is very important to us. We found him collapsed in the alley, so we brought him back. Officer Marvin said, "There are only a few of us here anyway, so it doesn't matter even if he mutates. So we still have a glimmer of hope in our hearts, and luckily we've waited for you." What do you mean by there's still hope? The 3 policemen looked expectantly at Bud and Leon. We brought the T-virus vaccine and serum, which can resolve the infection. Leon called Jarvis over and opened the suitcase. There are 3 bottles of dark blue virus fluid, 5 bottles of rose-red vaccine samples, and 4 bottles of antiviral serum. Vaccine? There is a vaccine for cannibalism? Marvin trembled. If they had obtained the vaccine earlier, how could they have lost so many companions? Umbrella develops viruses, so of course they will also develop corresponding vaccines. Bud took out a serum from the box and injected it into Brad's arm. After the serum was finished, Brad's pale complexion actually improved a little. The 3 police officers felt relieved and trusted Leon's previous words even more. You too, since you are going to save this city, you should have a purpose for coming to the police station. The middle-aged policeman Elliot asked, "I wonder what we can do to help." Leon turned and walked towards the Statue of Liberty. It's like this. One of Umbrella's research institutes is right below the police station. I'm going to go in there and make a vaccine that works better. So you need to enter through the entrance of the research institute located in the police station. Elliot was very excited when he heard this. Are you serious? I knew there was a secret passage here. Officer Phillips was right. It's a pity she will never hear this news again. Phillips appeared to be one of his female superiors, but she had died before. Leon patted the middle-aged police officer on the shoulder. You have done a good job. Now move aside and I'll open the passage. Several people retreated in confusion. Leon was seen squatting in front of the Statue of Liberty, and suddenly he made a lightning-fast move and smashed through the thick stone slab under the sculpture. Those stone slabs fixed with steel bars. It was like soft jelly in front of him. There is no sense of stagnation at all. His face was as calm as a lake, his breathing was calm, and even the muscles in his arms were not tense. Just a sudden movement of raising your hand. They then lifted up the entire Statue of Liberty sculpture and its cornerstone. It was so easy that it seemed like just lifting a piece of tofu. This scene made the eyelids of the other people present twitch. It was too violent and cruel, but no one has the energy to pay attention to this. After the Statue of Liberty was pushed down, a flight of stone steps was revealed underneath. Under the stairs is an open secret room with exquisite decoration. Even if you only see a corner of it, you can feel the luxurious atmosphere. Damn it, this secret room is right under our noses, but we haven't discovered it for all these years. Elliot shouted, holding his head. Marvin's face also looked extremely bad. It's the director. He's in cahoots with the damn umbrella. The fat policeman was so angry that he didn't say a word. They looked at Leon. Mr. Leon, what should we do now? Leon thought for a moment and said, first, search for survivors in the surrounding area, kill the remaining zombies in the police station, and then go into the underground research institute together. I have frozen all the zombies outside. I will leave the search for survivors to you. Is that okay? Black Marvin nodded immediately. Don't worry, the three of us will set off right away. The three of them quickly packed up their equipment, formed a formation, and left the police station. Leon looked at the armor again. Jarvis, go and eliminate the zombies in the police station. Okay, sir. Jarvis took off automatically, rushed into various offices in the police station, and cleared out all the zombies. 20 minutes later, Super Mark I returned to the hall with some zombie blood. There was a scratch on its chest, probably caused by a sneak attack from a monster called a licker. Mission accomplished, sir, Jarvis reported. On the other side, Marvin's team also returned with 3 survivors. They are a father and daughter and an Asian woman. The father-daughter combination is a weird one. My father has a chubby figure, but his temperament is very tough. He kept his daughter in his arms and did not let her show her face. The Asian woman was wearing a red dress, her long legs wrapped in black stockings and high heels. She has a gorgeous appearance, but a cold temperament, and her eyes and eyebrows exude something called charm. Mr. Leon, these are the only survivors around. Marvin was a little frustrated. We can't find anyone else. It's okay. Once the new vaccine is developed, more people will be saved. Leon patted Marvin on the shoulder. The middle-aged policeman Elliot introduced. This is the owner of the Kendo gun shop behind the police station, Robert Kendo, and his daughter. And this lady is in an abandoned building. I'm an FBI investigator. The Asian woman took out an ID. Ada Wang, I'm here to investigate Umbrella Corporation. She looked at Leon and said, I heard them say that you are the savior. Can you give me some evidence? Sorry, I don't need to prove it. Leon couldn't help laughing. As he froze the block around the police station, Ada Wang was watching from atop a building. Asking these questions now is undoubtedly an attempt to obtain more intelligence from him. It doesn't matter what you are, savior or god. But Kendo, the father among the 3, suddenly started yelling. They said you have antiviral serum, right? Give me the serum. I'll do whatever you say as long as you give me the serum. Everyone looked at him in astonishment. Director Bud observed and exclaimed, the girl in his arms is an infected person. Leon added, but it's still early, just infected, and there's still hope. Without his command, Jarvis automatically controlled the armor to take out the serum and gave the little girl an injection before anyone could react. The little girl, who was only barely conscious, collapsed into her father's arms after the injection. Emma, how are you? Damn it, how dare you? A piece of iron, Emma. Are your eyes starting to recover? The old father Duncan held his daughter in his arms, extremely anxious. Fortunately, the vaccine worked very quickly, and the girl's white eyes quickly returned to their original color. But I'm still not conscious, so I might need to rest for a while. Very good, everyone is happy. I like this kind of family-friendly plot when I watch a movie. Leon took a few more glances, and after making sure that the little girl was getting better, he turned and walked towards the underground passage. Now there is a new mission. Officer Marvin, one of you will stay behind to protect the survivors and hold the police station. The other two will go down with us to create new vaccines at the Institute. After he finished speaking, he disappeared into the passage, very quickly and neatly. Let's go, we have to race against time. Director Bud and Jarvis followed Leon, one in armor, and also walked into the underground passage. Chapter 65 Ada Wang. The remaining few people looked at each other. Marvin gave the order, "Old Fatty, you stay here. Elliot, let's go. The survivors can rest here." "As you say, Marvin." The fat police officer obeyed the order. Is he really the savior?" Father Kendo interrupted hesitantly at this time. "I haven't had the chance to thank him yet." "It's not too late to thank him when he comes back, and take your recovered daughter with you to thank him as well." Marvin helped him put his daughter on the stretcher. "But is it really okay for you guys to break into Umbrella's laboratory?" Duncan was doubtful. Officer Elliot said, "Mr. Leon is so strong, it is impossible for him to get into trouble. But we are not sure whether he is the savior or not." "That is incredible." "But we believe him," interrupted the fat policeman. Marvin then walked out of the medical partition. "Come on, Elliot, let's follow." Two police officers, one in black and one in white, drew their pistols and followed him into the underground passage. Ada Wang watched silently from the side. After the two police officers disappeared, he suddenly spoke. "It seems that you got along well before." "No, I was really scared by the incredible mecha and freezing breath as soon as I arrived, haha." The fat policeman sat on the sofa. "But you don't seem to mind being left alone?" King Ada glanced at the underground passage. "We also need people to man the police station." The fat man frowned. "It sounds like you have a different opinion, ma'am." Ada walked to the front of the passage gracefully and slowly. "No objection, I just have to say goodbye to you for now." She waved her hand, held onto the passage, lowered her head and went inside, quickly disappearing from everyone's sight. "Hey, you can't go, damn it." She ran in. "Let's chase her." Dad Kendo's eyes were wide open with anger. But the fat policeman next to him acted as if nothing had happened. "Hey, fatty, aren't you in a hurry?" Duncan stopped halfway through his run. The fat man shrugged. "Whether she wants to make trouble or conduct an investigation, it is impossible to affect Mr. Leon. Let her go." "Are you kidding? Would an ordinary federal agent affect Superman who can easily dig the Statue of Liberty out of the ground?" The other side. The four of them and one of them walked into the elevator in the basement room. This elevator leads deeper underground. However, as soon as the armor entered the elevator, the circuit sounded an alarm, indicating that it was overloaded. "Jarvis, you're too heavy, you need to fly." Leon complained. "Master, your armor is too heavy." Jarvis controlled the armor to fly in the air, preparing to lower the altitude as the elevator descended. "That's a good rebuttal. Next time I won't let you drive my armor." Leon pressed the down button again. The elevator's sliding doors began to close. However, at the last moment, a beautiful red figure slid on the ground, squeezed into the elevator, and stopped in front of Leon. "Wow, Black." Leon silently looked away. Ada stood up and smoothed the hem of her skirt. "Those are safety pants, gentlemen." "Because I'm a gentleman, I openly remind the lady that you are exposed," said Leon. "Thank you very much, gentlemen, Mr. Leon." Ada squeezed in front of Leon. This elevator is a relatively spacious multi-person elevator. But Ada squeezed in front of Leon and stretched out her neck temptingly. The two of them became so close that they could hear each other's breathing. Leon is very familiar with this routine. Natasha would do this from time to time during their nightly chats. He can guarantee it. If he were to confront her out of lust at this moment, King Ada would immediately step back and say with a look of contempt that this was not very gentlemanly. At this moment, if it were an ordinary person, his defenses would be immediately broken by her, and the fish would take the bait. To put it in a more literary way, it is like a little deer suddenly broke into one's heart without any warning. Playing hard to get is the basic skill of these female agents. But facing the temptation from King Ada at this time, Leon can remain calm. After all, let alone a pair of safety pants, he had even personally handled Ada's bunny girl costume in his previous life. Without giving him more benefits, you still want to seduce him, Leon? Does he look like the kind of person who can't stand the test? You're welcome. I'm more curious about YMS. Ada followed in. I have to remind you that it's very dangerous down there. Leon turned slightly away from King Ada. There was a hint of surprise in Queen Ada's eyes. Leon's behavior really made her believe that he was a gentleman. This is my job. If I encounter danger, dealing with it is part of my job. Wang Ada pulled out a pistol from his tactical vest. Besides, Doctor, Bud will go down with you. Aren't you afraid that something might happen to him? Facing Ada's temptation, Director Bud, who had been silent, explained, I'm fine, mister. Leon will protect me. Ever since following Leon, Bud's sense of security has exploded. This kind of sense of security is hard to come by, let alone after the outbreak of the biochemical crisis. Even before the crisis, he has never experienced it. There were times when Bud kept wondering how he could stay with Leon and work for him. Compared to Umbrella, Leon is the best boss. So that's how it is. It seems that Mr. Leon is very powerful, King Ada asked. She was trying to extract information, but it was too straightforward. It's okay, you'll see. Leon did not give a direct answer. Talk about it. Ada Wang is also one of the protagonists of the Resident Evil game series. She is a freelance agent who serves the HCF organization on a daily basis and occasionally works for a force called Family. Compared to Natasha, Wang Ada can be said to be much freer and more carefree. Of course, while she was free, she also experienced fewer life and death crises than Natasha. Now 23 or 24 years old, Ada Wang is much more immature than Natasha of the same age. Ding! At this time, the elevator also reached the bottom. The sliding door opened and 5 people, 1A, walked out one by one. Below the elevator was a long set of stairs. Leon led the way down, forcing open any locked doors and freezing any zombies blocking the way. Soon the group walked into the sewer under the police station. Go forward along the sewers and you will reach the Umbrella Research Institute. Leon flew straight up. He had no intention of wading through sewage. Even his sense of smell was suppressed by him, otherwise the smell here would be enough to make him feel choked. Fly, fly. Marvin and others were shocked at first, and then they kept looking at Leon in surprise. However, their surprise did not affect the efficiency of their actions. Several people followed Leon and jumped down the stairs one by one. The sewage from the sewer instantly reached above their thighs. Finally, Wang Ada was the only one left standing on the steps. She looked at the muddy sewage flowing under her feet, then looked at the man and armor above her head, and her lips trembled. Leon looked at her jokingly, waiting for her reaction. Finally, King Ada sighed and jumped into the sewage. Chapter 66, Opening the Way Through the Mountains. Follow me and stay alert. Leon called out and floated slowly forward. To be honest, his current casual attire does look a bit weird when flying. It feels like a high school student working hard in school and finding time to save the world. The sewers are very close to Umbrella's laboratory. Along the way, in the turbid sewage and on the mossy cave walls, strange mutated creatures kept jumping out and attacking everyone. Some of them have one half of their bodies like a giant corpse, and the other half like a person infected by a giant leech. Some are 1 meter long sewer insects, and some are huge mutant crocodiles that are 10 to 20 meters long. God knows how Umbrella turned an ordinary sewer into one with more biodiversity than the Rinkai in Japan. These monsters are not only dangerous, but also numerous. Normally, even if a small team of special forces came, there would be a risk of being annihilated. But Leon flew ahead of everyone. When you encounter a monster, beat it. When you encounter a wall, destroy it. No monster could block his punch, and no wall could stop him for even a second. The group had a smooth journey. Except for the somewhat unacceptable environment, it's almost like going on a hike here. Even King Ada, who had been extremely vigilant, only had time to shoot and kill a zombie fish that was pretending to be dead. Other than that, she didn't manage to grab any monsters. Our Mr. Lion really makes us feel safe. I admit that he is an absolute gentleman. King Ada spoke words of praise, but wrung out her skirt with some disgust. At this time, everyone came to a sewage treatment pool platform. There are all water buildings here, and large sewage treatment machines are running continuously, making rumbling sounds. They finally got rid of the sewage temporarily. Marvin used a flashlight to illuminate the surroundings and could see stinking corpses in some corners. Look at these people. Some are wearing lab coats, and some are wearing combat uniforms. Umbrella really has a huge scientific research base here. Elliot also gritted his teeth. This city is under their control. These parasites deserve to die. Capital holds power. Isn't that the characteristic of this country? King Ada followed Leon nonchalantly. Isn't that right, sir? Leon didn't respond, took a few steps, and suddenly said, "Back off." What? King Ada was stunned. Before she could react, Leon in front of her had already grabbed her arm and pulled her to his side. The next second, she heard a sound of breaking air behind her. Turning back, she saw a giant mutant insect with its mouth wide open flying past her previous position. The insect failed in its sneak attack and tried to escape, but was hit by Leon's whip kick and smashed into the wall, exploding into insect juice. King Ada was a little scared. "Thank you." She half leaned on Leon, supported by his arm, and backed away, only to find that the arm felt like marble. I couldn't help but sigh. "Nice figure." Leon raised his eyebrows. "I think so too, but you owe me one." "Girls won't like conceited men." King Ada raised the corner of his mouth. "That's hard to say." Leon continued walking forward. Going further into the sewage treatment area is the monitoring room. Through the glass, everyone could see a large platform at the other end of the monitoring room. An armored cable car was parked on the platform. "We're here," Leon said. "We can take the cable car to the Institute." "Thank God, we're finally here." Director Bud had the worst physical strength and he was already exhausted. He took the initiative to open the door, but the iron door of the monitoring room was locked tightly. "It's locked," Bud said. So everyone looked at Leon. "Let me do it. I can unlock it. Please, Leon, you can't always." Ada Wang walked forward and took out the lock-picking tools. However, before she could finish her words, Leon had already pushed the iron door and the surrounding walls to the ground with one palm. The two looked at each other. Leon spread his hands innocently. "Maybe next time you can tell me in advance that you can open the lock. Just pretend I didn't say anything." Wang Ada put away the props. "Then let's go and take the cable car." Leon turned his head and looked at the hidden corner in the monitoring room. "Ma'am, if you're planning on taking a ride with us, you can come out now." Everyone was shocked. There was someone else here. Suddenly, all the guns were raised in unison, aiming in the direction Leon was looking. There, a thin, middle-aged woman with sunken eye sockets walked out. She was wearing a white research coat and pointed a pistol at everyone. "Police? You shouldn't be here. The only people left in the institute are the infected. You'd better leave now." She stared at everyone and issued a warning. "Annie Birkin." At this time, King Ada stepped forward with guns in both hands and confronted her. "You and your husband are the creators of the virus and the culprits of this disaster. There is no need for hypocrisy," she warned sternly. "Now hand over the G virus." At the same time, Ada did not forget to explain to Leon, "My purpose in coming here is to destroy Umbrella. The G virus is far more dangerous than the T virus. It must not be left in the hands of this woman." Everyone looked back and forth at the two of them, feeling that the situation was somewhat complicated. Director Bud hadn't even heard of the G virus. When Annie Birkin heard the word G virus, her eyes changed instantly and became sinister. "I see, you are here for the G virus as well." She smiled contemptuously. "Don't even think about it." Under the cover of the voices, she took the opportunity to throw a grenade and then shot at Ada. "Not good, dangerous." Marvin and the other policemen rushed to Leon immediately, trying to knock him down and block the explosion for him. However, Leon dodged it, grabbed the grenade with his left hand and pulled Ada Wang with his right hand. The bullet grazed Ada's arm. A few seconds later, there was a muffled sound, and Leon spread out his left hand, shaking off a few strands of black ash and debris, and his palm was still clean and fresh. This. Everyone was stunned. He covered the thunder with his palm, but there was no injury at all. "Who is this person?" On the other side, Annie Birkin, who was about to leave the monitoring room, was also stunned. She felt that even her husband, who had become a monster, could not do such a thing. Leon glanced at the stunned Annie, took a few steps forward, grabbed her, and threw her to Marvin. "Control her, and we'll go to the research institute." Several people looked at each other and followed Leon onto the platform. King Ada hesitated and wanted to say something, but when he thought of Leon's action of extinguishing the grenade just now, he didn't want to say anything. On the platform, "Walk to the cable car." Everyone discovered that the operation of the cable car requires the use of staff identity bracelets. After coming to her senses, Annie Birkin smiled smugly. "I will never give you the authority bracelet, so just give up." Mr. Leon." Marvin and the others looked at Leon out of habit. It looked as if it was waiting for him to show off his skills and take down the heavy armored door with one punch. King Ada was the first to get anxious. Wait a minute. And Leon, calm down first. Opening the cable car violently may cause a malfunction. I think we can interrogate this woman first." She pointed at Yanni. "She must have an authority bracelet on her. Along the way, I was shocked and my worldview was challenged time and time again. Now the cold temperament on King Ada's face has collapsed. Before today, she could never imagine herself communicating with others in a tentative tone." Chapter 67 Udon Antash 039 T know his power 1. Yet even she had made such a huge sacrifice. Leon just gave her a strange look. "What did you say? Do you think I can only think with my muscles?" Leon frowned somewhat dissatisfiedly. He snapped his fingers. "Jarvis, I'm here, young master." The iron armor, which had always had little presence, stood up. "Turn this cable car on and get it running." "Yes." Several data cables extended from the iron armor and connected to the external screen of the cable car. After a few seconds, the screen flickered and the armored door of the cable car opened with a hiss. "Look, I also have artificial intelligence." Leon winked at Ada Wang and walked into the cable car first. Everyone followed in one after another, praising him for being worthy of being Mr. Leon. King Ada was stunned for a few seconds. Then he tilted his head and laughed. He tilted just like a fool. I don't know whether he was talking about Leon or himself. She tapped her forehead and followed him into the cable car helplessly. Under Jarvis' control, the tram began to run slowly and its speed gradually increased. There should be quite a few zombies and mutant creatures in the Institute. Leon stood in the middle of the group and said, "So it's still the same as before. I'll be in front and you guys follow. Once the underground base is cleared, you can help organize the research materials and equipment. As for how to improve the vaccine, I already have some preliminary ideas, and if nothing unexpected happens, I will have results by tomorrow morning." Bud expressed his admiration among the others. Marvin and Elliot were filled with excitement, and Ada clapped her hands with a slightly flickering look in her eyes. "Hee hee, you little boastful kid, you're only about 17 or 18 years old. Go to college first." Only Annie muttered disdainfully. The cable car arrived at the station soon. As soon as everyone got off the platform, they exclaimed, "I don't even know how much money and effort Umbrella spent on this. It's like another world here," Marvin and Officer Elliot exclaimed. At first glance, the Underground Research Institute left them with an extremely deep impression. The Research Institute is completely different from the previous sewer. The sewers were full of crude pipes and a foul stench. But here, this Umbrella Research Institute, the outermost part is a high-strength titanium metal wall. The texture that only metal can bring flows throughout the entire entrance, and the indicator lights that look like daylight shine all the way into the deepest part. Marvin and his friends felt like they had entered the future. In their eyes, facing the sci-fi base, even Leon seemed to have become much softer. He no longer used his fists to open the blocked door like before. Instead, let that iron lump do the data cracking. Of course, the reality is that there is no electronic door in the sewer for Jarvis to crack, so the fastest way is for Leon to swing his fist. With another click, Jarvis easily invaded the base that required researcher permissions to enter. A heavy 3-story gate slowly rose outside the base. The 5 people present were automatically granted advanced permissions. Every time they arrive at a door, an intelligent system will open it automatically. Compared to the outside world, there are almost only human-shaped zombies in the Research Institute. Leon directly sent Jarvis to carry out the cleanup, while he and his men waited on the spot. The few people who stopped temporarily began to explore and search the surrounding rooms. As a result, quite a few researchers' diaries were found. The diaries of these people almost all recorded the general process of the outbreak of the biochemical crisis. It starts with someone being accidentally infected during an experiment, then that person turning into a zombie and being dealt with by security forces. Then everyone was in danger, the virus leaked, and creatures like rats began to bring the virus to the surface. I didn't expect it to be like this at the beginning. My God. Director Bud rubbed the corners of his eyes. I thought only my team was doing this research. Marvin comforted him, "Doctor. Bud, you were just forced by people with bad intentions. What we have to do now is to save everything." While the two of them were chatting animatedly, Ada also went to find Annie Birkin. Leon was checking past records on the computer in the security room. Suddenly the cell phone in his bag turned on and Jarvis' voice came out. "Master, the mutant creatures inside the base have been cleared. But I found a creature similar to the Tyrant. It's chasing a little girl hiding in a corner. Do you want me to rescue her?" "Little girl? Could it be Shirley Birkin?" Leon picked up the phone. Shirley Birkin is the daughter of Arnie and William. In the game, William was forced to be injected with the G virus and turned into a monster. His brain was affected and filled with the desire to reproduce the virus. However, the virus can only be transmitted stably between parents. Non-parental transmission can lead to rapid death in the infected individual. So William, who turned into a monster in the game, was chasing his daughter Shirley the whole time. Shirley was later rescued by Leon S. Kennedy and Claire in the game. In the end, she even became one of the heroines of the 6th generation of the game. Leon thought for a moment and said, "You take Shirley to lure the monster here and let me deal with it." The firepower of the Super Mark I was enough to kill William. But the G-virus infected people, like the trackers we have fought before, can constantly mutate and regenerate. If Jarvis really lets William deal with him, the outcome will probably be that this research institute will also be destroyed. After Jarvis gave a positive answer, Leon immediately took everyone back to the platform and waited for Jarvis to return with the monster. The area here on the platform is spacious and suitable for fighting. Facing the confused people, Leon stood at the front. "There are very strong enemies coming. We will meet them here." A few minutes later, the iron armor held a little blonde girl in its arms, spewing out a long tail of flame, and stopped suddenly above the crowd. "Shirley!" Yanni suddenly shouted to the little girl, "Why are you here?" "Mommy!" The little girl was somewhat happy, but not too excited. "It was this Iron Man who saved me." Jarvis landed and let go of her hand, and the little girl immediately pounced on Annie. Ada, who had been restraining Annie, was also a little dazed. After all, she was only 23 years old and had little experience. When she saw that her enemy was the mother of a little girl, she relaxed a little. So much so that Annie broke free from the restraints and hugged Shirley in her arms. "Shirley, I am sorry, Mom hasn't visited you these days." Annie rubbed Shirley's head. Shirley said timidly, "Mommy, Dad has become so scary, he wants to catch me." Annie was stunned for a moment, then stared at her daughter with her eyes flickering, as if she had thought of something. "He didn't hurt you, or give you anything to eat?" "No, Dad hasn't caught me yet." Shirley shook her head. Annie breathed a sigh of relief when she heard that, but her eyes were struggling and her heart was in a fierce struggle. "Sorry, Shirley, I have to do this." Annie suddenly said something incomprehensible. She hugged Shirley tightly and her expression became resolute, as if she had made some decision. Then she turned around at lightning speed, grabbed the gun in Ada's hand, turned it around, and actually wanted to shoot Shirley. But Ada reacted quickly, twisting Annie's arm and pressing her to the ground. "What are you doing? That's your daughter." Her voice was cold. "It's because she is the daughter of William and me that I can't let her live." Annie looked struggling, but determined. Except for Leon, everyone present felt unbelievable. What kind of mother could say such cruel words in such a heartless tone? Little lowly Shirley fell to the ground, kicking her legs against the ground and backing away, looking at a loss. Mommy." Annie noticed the strange looks from everyone and retorted fiercely, "You don't understand anything. You don't understand what kind of monster it is. We must not let the G-virus spread, or the world will be doomed. If Shirley stays here, William will infect her and turn her into a monster. Even if we send her out, William will chase her out. So, in order to prevent the G-virus from spreading, I can't let Shirley stay. And you'd better not think about the G-virus. It's the key to the destruction of the world." Marvin walked forward with a stern look on his face. "No matter what you say, it's not a reason for you to kill your own daughter." "Excuse me, William Birkin? That's the monster in front." Leon suddenly spoke. He twisted his neck. "Mrs. Birkin, have you ever thought about the possibility that killing your husband could also prevent him from continuing to spread the virus?" "What did you say?" Annie Birkin looked at him like a fool. "You know nothing about his power." "Really?" Leon took the initiative to greet William Birkin, who had just run out of the Research Institute. Chapter 68, Vaccine Research. William Birkin staggered out of the gate of the Research Institute facility. His figure became clear under the spotlight. The right half of the body becomes gigantic, and huge eyes grow on the arms. Various scarlet muscle lines tore through the skin and tangled together. The left half was a normal zombie, with its dry white eyes locking onto little Shirley in the crowd. "Roar!" It let out a roar, and its body seemed to grow larger, like a wild beast that had been hungry for days and finally found delicious food. It lowered its head and charged forward, its ferocious right hand stretched out in the air, trying to clear away anything that stood in its way. Lion, who was standing in the front, went forward without giving in. However, his tall and straight body seemed a little smaller under the other party's huge arm. Everyone couldn't help but feel a little worried. They know how good Lion is. But according to Annie, this monster was even more powerful, and it seemed that no one could stop it. In a state of tension, Ada and Marvin even raised their pistols and began to aim, intending to cover Leon's retreat. The fight between the two sides lasted only a moment. William Birkin turned into a monster very quickly. But Lion was faster. He rushed forward, twisted his body at a speed that could not be captured by the naked eye, and threw an uppercut. So there was no doubt that William Birkin's head exploded like a watermelon exposed to the sun. In the dull eyes of the crowd, Leon silently put away his fist and turned around, his body still spotless. He twisted his wrist, and the headless corpse behind him fell down with a bang. "How powerful did you say it was?" He looked at Annie. Annie's face trembled, unwilling to believe what she saw. She said in a trembling voice, You will only cause him to mutate. He will soon become even stronger. You'd better." Before she could finish her words, Leon turned around again and released heat rays at William's body. In a few seconds, even the ashes on the ground disappeared. Just a handful of ash. Most of it was dispersed by Leon's light blow. The monsters in the game that can transform into the 4th or even 5th level completed their farewell performance in this way. "What now?" Leon turned his head and asked. Yanni was completely silent. In fact, she had been struggling with whether or not to kill her mutated husband William, but she just couldn't make up her mind. Now, she doesn't have to make a choice anymore. That hateful young man has ruined everything. Annie stared blankly at the charcoal ash under Leon's feet. She stood up like a zombie. Ada frowned and did not immediately restrain her again. Everyone watched as Annie walked over to the pile of ash, scooped it up gently, and held it close to her face, silent tears streaming down her face. Mommy little Shirley ran up timidly, but just hugged Leon's thigh and didn't dare to go forward. But Annie ignored Shirley. She stood up quietly and walked into the base quietly. No one spoke at this time. Half a minute later, a gunshot was heard in the institute. "Mommy." Shirley's eyes turned red, but she hugged Leon's thighs even tighter. It is obvious that both Mr. and Mrs. Birkin pay little attention to their family. They don't have that deep of a relationship with Shirley. Shirley was first chased by the monster that William turned into and was almost shot to death by Annie in the name of justice. She has lost all her support in this world. Both material and spiritual, everything is lost. But she remembered that the Iron Man said that the older brother in front of her was the one who ordered to rescue her. Now she could only hold on to Leon like a life-saving straw. Leon pursed his lips and touched Shirley's little head, but did not comfort her. With such a complicated family change, any comfort from outsiders would be futile. More importantly, we have to let the little girl come out of it on her own. Let's go in. It's been cleared out. We have to make a new vaccine as soon as possible. He let Shirley participate in their work. Marvin, Elliot, you and Jarvis go collect all the resources in the institute. All kinds of resources are needed. Ada Wang, go do what you want to do, whether it's stealing the G-virus or doing something else, it's up to you. Bud, come with me and help me develop a vaccine. Shirley, if you can, could you come and help everyone? Hand them a cup of coffee or something. Oh, and there is one more thing, Jarvis. Terminate and destroy the self-destruct program of this institute. Don't let the base get blown up while you're still researching. Everyone responded in agreement and then dispersed. Even Shirley wiped her eyes, glanced at the room Annie had entered before, bit her lip, and ran to the kitchen to make coffee. It was King Ada who stopped Leon and said, "You knew my identity was fake. When did it happen?" "When I first saw you." "Oh, Tilda, then why did you let me follow you all the way?" I heard that you are a freelance agent, working for many forces at the same time. Yes. Would you be interested in working with me in the future, saving the world or something like that? You want to recruit me? Sounds interesting. I'll think about it, Leon tilde. Before leaving, King Ada tried to lift Leon's chin with his finger, but when he dodged, he just blinked and gave a cool smile. Nice to meet you, and thank you, tilde. She turned around, waved, and walked into the inner passage. As expected of Aunt Wang, you like to act mysterious even in your 20s. Leon muttered, retracted his gaze, grabbed Bud, and flew towards the laboratory. On the other side, the Redstone subway station. Jill Valentine said goodbye to others before leaving on the subway. Jill, are you sure you want to go find Brother Stark? The Raccoon City Police Department isn't close to here, Carlos suggested. I think it would be better for you to leave the city with the others. He said he would save the city, and I believe him, Carlos, and I have to go as long as I can help a little. Jill checked the ammunition. Carlos sighed helplessly. I really don't know where your trust comes from. After seeing him take action, do you still doubt him? Jill asked back, picking up a rifle. I have to admit that he does look like a savior. Well, when my mission is over, I will come to find you. Carlos scratched his head. Jill put 2 fingers of her right hand together and waved them in the air. See you at the police station then. After saying that, she turned and ran into the burning street. 2 hours later. Antiviral serum and vaccine for the T-virus, airborne version, done. Leon looked at the 2 test tubes of red medicine in his hand and snapped his fingers. He casually handed the test tube to Bud. Take it to experiment on mice, especially to see if the vaccine can work through the air. In order to increase the scope of the vaccine, he directly modified the way the T-virus spreads. In the past, the T-virus could only be transmitted through liquids and blood. Now, after his modification, the virus can be spread through direct exposure to the air. In the movie version of Resident Evil, the original virus that infected the whole world was less effective than the new T-virus he created. The new T-virus is now catching up with the future C-virus in terms of transmission efficiency and has the potential to destroy the world. Fortunately, while Leon opened Pandora's box, he also developed an air-diffused vaccine and locked it. Another half-hour passed. Mr. Leon, the vaccine and serum worked on all the mice. Jarvis predicts that the difference in their effectiveness in humans would be no more than 0.3%. What is the range of the vaccine? As you expected, after it diffuses into the air, it is effective within a range of 30 meters for less than half an hour. Very good. Ask Marvin and the others to start the production workshop and begin mass production of the new T-virus vaccine and serum, Leon said as he took another bottle of dark purple liquid. And this, the new G-virus serum, take it for experimentation too. Bud's hands were shaking a little, and he looked at Leon in amazement. You even developed an airborne version of the G-virus. That's not the case. The G-virus hasn't infected a large area yet, so I don't need to research a vaccine for its spread. Leon said, this is a highly effective anti-G-virus serum. Anyone who has been infected for no more than 20 hours can be saved. Bud breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly took the vaccine. Okay, I'll do the experiment now. At this time, Leon picked up the coffee that Shirley had brewed and took a sip. Next, I will conduct my own research. Chapter 69, S-Virus and return to the police station. 6.5 hours later. Leon rubbed his forehead and returned to the lobby of the east area of the Institute. Ma Wen and others immediately surrounded them. It was already 9 o'clock in the morning on September 29th. Brother Leon, do you need to take a break for a while? Little Shirley asked, holding a box. In the box were Anne Birkin's ashes, whichever one had helped to cremate a few hours ago. There was also some William Birkin's carbon ash mixed in it. No, I'm just a little upset. Leon waved his hand. In the past 5 hours. He combined the information of the progenitor virus with the T virus and G virus to develop a new type of virus. When the superbrain's computing power is fully utilized, although he did not conduct research for a long time, his results were better than those of William and others combined over decades. The prototype of S-type virus. This is the name he gave to the new virus. This virus is the most contagious and lethal. It can spread through the air, is extremely resilient, and will not lose its activity within 6 hours after exposure. Once infected, he initially predicted that the patient's chance of becoming a zombie would be over 90%, and it will turn into a super zombie with infinite strength and difficult to kill, but just survive. The infected can retain their sanity intact, gain absolute physical enhancement, and regenerative abilities. However, in terms of the efficiency of air transmission, it is still much worse than general pneumonia infectious diseases. The breathing or droplets of an infected person do not directly cause the virus to spread. Only when the body fluids and blood of an infected person are exposed and a large amount of virus is accumulated can it spread under the action of transpiration. But even there are still certain limitations. As long as the effects of this virus are known to Spencer, Wesker, and others, they will surely shout that this is the ladder of human evolution and immediately begin to promote the global evolution plan. Even at the moment when the virus was successfully synthesized, Leon could still feel the joy coming from the world consciousness. But unfortunately, he doesn't need such a virus. What he needed was a potion that was 100% successful and could enhance the body's regenerative abilities. After all, this is used to heal Tony's body. It would be terrible if Tony was turned into a zombie, considering the problem of too high probability of mutation. Perhaps after resolving the crisis in Raccoon City, he will have to go to Europe. I believe that after combining the properties of the Plaka parasite and the E-mold, the S-virus prototype can then evolve to a more perfect state. But before that, he might have to go back to Marvel first. At least we have to see how different the time flow rate is between the two worlds. Last time, Leon took advantage of the perfect timing. He also took out a drop of his own blood and tried to infect Kryptonian blood with a prototype of the S-virus. Ever since he awakened his abilities, his blood, which was originally no different from that of an ordinary person, has been filled with Kryptonian factors. In other words, it was transformed into the bloodline of Kryptonians and Earthlings fused together. So there is nothing wrong with calling his blood Kryptonian blood. However, the experimental results were very bad. When the two come into contact in a container, Krypton's blood instantly devoured the prototype of the S-virus. And it also carries with it a crazy will to reproduce. Just a few breaths. The Kryptonian blood that had swallowed the prototype of the S-type virus seemed to have come to life. It began to corrode the container and wanted to dissipate into the air. If it were allowed to escape, the S-virus prototype would be able to spread through the air, coupled with the extremely active Kryptonian blood. Leon didn't dare to think about what the final outcome would be. Anyway, at that second, the world consciousness seemed to be crazy and kept sending him emotions of fear and despair. He can only destroy it instantly with a heat ray. Finally, the glass container that turned into ashes on the test bench let Leon know. He probably still has a long way to go in bloodline research. So when he walked out of the laboratory, he rubbed his forehead in frustration. Bud, what are the production results and experimental results of the vaccine and serum? Leon turned his head and asked Bud. He handed the syringe containing the golden S-virus prototype to Jarvis and asked him to keep it. All other traces of the S-virus prototype in the laboratory were destroyed by him. Even after walking out of the lab, he deliberately destroyed the entire room to ensure that no one would break in afterwards. Now the only S-virus concentrate is the one in his hand. The experiment with the G-virus serum went very smoothly. At least for now, any organism that has been infected for less than 5 hours can be cured after being injected with the serum. Director Bud held up the report. The new T-virus vaccine and serum have also been produced in sufficient quantities to cover the entire Raccoon City. And with the help of Mr. Jarvis, we have also produced antivirus bombs modified with the new serum. The number is over 500. Leon nodded. That's enough. Now we can start moving forward with the citywide vaccination rollout. I believe that in a few hours, Raccoon City will be able to return to its original state. Marvin and Elliot stood straight at this moment. It looked like they even wanted to give a standard salute. Let's move the bomb right away, Mr. Lion. Marvin saluted and left impatiently with Elliot. Remember to bring Jarvis with you. Lion asked Jarvis to control the armor to help. Then he looked at Ada Wang, who was leaning against the wall. I thought you had already left. Are you not in a hurry to hand over the G-virus to your boss? After not seeing her for a few hours, Ada seemed to have taken a shower in the institute and even changed her clothes. At this time, she was wearing a red jacket and black slim pants, looking very stylish. That was my last boss. Ida put on a pair of sunglasses. Now I find I have found a better boss. She walked towards Lion with her steps crossed, her waist and hips swaying in a graceful curve. Do you want to establish a long-term employment relationship with me, Mr. Lion? Ada raised her chin slightly. The past 9 hours, she had witnessed the excellence of the big boy in front of her. Not only does he possess unimaginable power, he also has an amazing brain, and most importantly, a heart of justice. Such people are like the dazzling sun wherever they go. Ada had to admit that she had a vague desire to get closer to the sun, and it would be best if she could bask in its sunshine every day. In simple terms, she developed a strong curiosity about this man. Ada decided to stay with Leon for a while and observe the savior found by this world consciousness. Is this considered a job application? Leon raised his eyebrows in surprise. He also thought that a free agent like Ada would not be willing to be inferior to others. If it's a job application, do you think you are qualified? Ada said. Just barely passed. Congratulations on being accepted. Remember to call me boss from now on. You can raise your salary yourself. Leon smiled happily. Only if I can earn some legal income in this world. Does that mean I'm a free employee now? Ada raised her lips. Or do you want to pay me with something else? Sorry, we don't pay interns in our company. Leon wouldn't take the bait. He had already been caught by Natasha as a black carp. Come on, Shirley, I'll carry you. It's about time we leave this place. Leon turned around and picked up Shirley. Ada behind him was not angry. Instead, the expression on her face became more meaningful, and she followed slowly. Half an hour later, everyone was ready and took the cable car back home. After returning to the sewer, it was another difficult trek. Only this time, Leon had Shirley on his back, Ada Wang hanging around his neck, and a bunch of wooden boxes filled with bombs in his hands. Not only him, but Marvin and his companions also had their hands full of wooden boxes. When they returned to the police station, the fat police officer thought that the group of people had gone to restock supplies. At some point, there were a dozen survivors in the police station. The survivors were extremely excited when they heard that the boxes were full of antiviral bombs and vaccines. At this time, the old father Kendo also brought his daughter Emma to find Leon, bowing and thanking him, expressing his gratitude beyond words. Kendo, there's no point in saying thank you too much. Just do your part when dropping the bomb later. Leon touched little Emma's head and said, Marvin said you are the best gunsmith here. Remember to protect yourself and your daughter. Then, what about me? Shirley, who had been standing behind Leon, grabbed the corner of his clothes. The girl held the urn with her shoulders hunched, looking a little anxious. Shirley's appearance made Leon a little dazed. He thought back to when he was 1 year old and had just regained his memory. At that time, he was as anxious as little Shirley. Except he still had Tony, but little Shirley had nothing. There was no one present that Shirley had known before today. They were all strangers. The world was not kind to her at all. But she is very brave, at least she dares to find support. Leon bent down and touched Shirley's head again. Okay, I will protect Shirley. Shirley suddenly laughed happily, hugged the urn, and wiped away her tears while laughing. Chapter 70, Saving the City and Farewell. Leon. At this time, a shout came from the door of the police station. Jill Valentine, still wearing her blue denim vest, opened the door and walked in. She was followed by Brad and Carlos. Jill. Leon didn't expect to see Jill here. Thank you, Leon. Before he could say a word, Jill ran over and gave Leon a big hug. Ada, who was opening a wooden box not far away and preparing to load bombs, looked over when she heard the sound. She looked at the two people hugging each other. Her expression did not fluctuate at all, but her eyelids were slightly lowered. Jill held Brad's hand for a few seconds before letting go. I never thought you would save Brad. He was infected just to protect me. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Leon. Thank you very much. Leon has heard too many thanks today. On the other side, Brad, who had recovered, also ran over, thanked the master profusely, and introduced himself. Leon could only wave his hands and say that these were all trivial matters, and the important thing was to save the Raccoon City citizens who were in dire straits. He felt that he had to give these people something to do quickly. Otherwise the police station will soon become a cult, or the kind that specifically praises him. Jill, why are you here? He started by bringing up the topic. I'm here to find you. You need to save Raccoon City, and I hope to help, Jill said, but when I first arrived, there were only Lao Zio and Brad and the others here, so I went out to look for other survivors. Seeing Leon again, she seemed to have a lot to say. Before the words come out of your mouth, your eyes are already telling the story. But then Ada came over and said, Boss, when are we leaving? Boss. Jill was stunned. Aren't you from another world? Is this person also from your world? Of course not. I'm Ada Wang, a former federal agent, now serving the boss. Ada Wang was using a fake identity again. She stood next to Leon very naturally, as if they were very close, which made Jill's eyes freeze slightly. Come to think of it, I actually have many names, and Ada Wang is just one of them, she suddenly said. So what's your original name? Leon was very interested in this topic. In the previous life game, Ada was very mysterious and no one knew her specific background. My previous names are not important anymore. When I met you, boss, I was called Ada. From now on, I will be called Ada too. King Ada's words shocked everyone around him. All kinds of eyes were focused on her. Marvin and others were stunned, Bud was thoughtful, Shirley was confused, and Jill was dazed. At this time, Jarvis whispered a reminder to Leon. Master, Mr. Stark asked me to remind you when I encounter such a situation. Be careful of strangers' deception. Jarvis knew that Leon had super hearing, so he spoke from a distance using the high-frequency sound emitted by the armor. Leon couldn't help but slapped him on the face. This Tony, he's still meddling in other people's business even though we're in a different world. Tony? Ada's indifferent expression froze, not understanding why another person's name suddenly appeared. Okay, Ada. I'm touched, really, Leon explained immediately. However, Ada's eyes were subtle, and her mood probably could not go back to the way it was just now. That Tony must be very important to you? Or does this Miss Ada look like Tony? Jill couldn't help laughing out loud, without even trying to hide it. Hearing this, Ada turned her head and looked at Jill. There was an inexplicable meaning in both of their eyes. Hee, that's enough. Why are you all just standing there? Hurry up and take action. Don't just stand there and watch. It was the old policeman Ma Wen who could read the atmosphere and stood up to give orders loudly. The hall soon returned to its bustling scene. More than 10 minutes later, everyone armed themselves, formed teams of 3, left the police station, and began to release vaccines in various blocks of Raccoon City. Leon didn't go with these people. For greater efficiency, he was responsible for freezing the entire outer layer of the city with his freezing breath. Jarvis and others are responsible for dealing with zombies and spreading vaccines. What they have to do is very simple, that is, throw out vaccines when they encounter humans and throw out antiviral bombs when they encounter zombies. The antivirus bomb is a scattering bomb that will shoot out countless fine needles containing serum after explosion. These fine needles will be inserted into the zombie's body and the serum will be injected into it. It won't take too long for the virus in the zombie's body to be inactivated, and the zombie will die as well. The mechanism of action of vaccines is even simpler. Once the container is broken, the vaccine will evaporate naturally and spread to the nearby area, allowing all people who come into contact with it to naturally produce antibodies. Leon was flying in the air from the beginning. He carried Shirley on his back, floating on the edge of the city and flying along the outer buildings, exhaling freezing breath while flying. Soon the entire surface of the city turned into a world of ice. All the zombies on the streets were frozen. This time Leon lowered the temperature. The zombies, like ice figurines, all died in the process of rapid freezing as their cells were pierced by the ice chips in their bodies. As for the remaining zombies in the house, I will leave it to you to clean up slowly. With the new vaccine and serum, everything went smoothly. But the efficiency of ordinary people's actions is still too low. 2 hours later, the people responsible for cleaning up the city returned to the police station. This time, Leon even went back to the research institute once to disinfect his entire body. But when everyone gathered in the police station lobby again, everyone's face was filled with excitement and joy. The Raccoon City rescue plan was successfully concluded and completed. It's just a pity that the world consciousness did not send more gifts at this time. It seems that the other party doesn't care about the salvation of a small raccoon city. Leon, you saved the city. Marvin and Jill led everyone to thank Leon. There were thousands of people in the police station at this time, many of whom were survivors who had gathered on the road. They understood what had happened. Thousands of people were shouting Leon's name at the same time, and the sound seemed to break through the dome of the police station. Leon was not very interested in such scenes. He gave a speech like Tony did, without a long speech, but just used a few words like "you are the real heroes" to deal with it. Half an hour later, Marvin, Jill, and others, who had settled the survivors, gathered in the conference room. Leon got straight to the point. I'm going to leave temporarily and return to my world for a while. Seeing that everyone was beginning to look anxious, he pressed his hands down, indicating that he should finish speaking first. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. I'm leaving now just to test the speed of time in the two worlds and make sure I won't be away from my world for too long. I'll have Jarvis stay here to help you before I leave. It has collected evidence of all the crimes committed by Umbrella Corporation. As long as you are ready, it can be published on the entire network at any time. In addition, Umbrella has already used this place as a testing ground, and the Eagle Sauce officials may not have a positive attitude. So you'd better prepare to evacuate in advance. I suspect that no matter which side finds out what happened here, they will destroy the city to erase all traces. Don't miss me too much, friends. I'll be back soon. Leon said goodbye in a relaxed state, but these people who had only spent a few hours with him were all reluctant to leave. Many times, emotions come so inexplicably. Some people may become strangers after being together for several years, but sometimes, just one thing or one sentence can make one person fall in love with another. Are you sure you will come back? King Ada looked at Leon steadily. My salary hasn't been paid yet. Leon hugged her gently. Is this considered salary? Still a long way off. King Ada stretched out his hand and pressed it on Leon's chest, his fingertips sliding down along his perfect muscle lines. It's almost there now. You have a good body, big boy. Leon was speechless and snapped his fingers. Jarvis, assist everyone in their work and cooperate in combat when necessary. After saying that, he touched Shirley's little head and told her to listen to Ada and Jill. He gave everyone present a hug again. Finally, he waved to everyone and said, I'm leaving. Goodbye, everyone. The words fell. Leon closed his eyes and activated his ability to travel through time. There is no need to search the world when you go back. In the chaotic space, bubbles representing the Marvel world automatically emerged. Behind that bubble, there seemed to be a huge group of chaotic bubbles following. But except for the world we came from, all other bubbles were shrouded in hazy darkness. Leon knew that was a Marvel multiverse. He chose the return trip, paying the same amount of energy as the trip their next moment. Leon disappeared before everyone's eyes. Another crossing without any spatial fluctuations. After everyone was surprised, there was silence. To be honest, I'm starting to miss him now. Marvin joked in the depressing atmosphere. He was really honest and never deceived us from beginning to end. We are lucky that the world consciousness has found such a savior. You know, we had a newcomer coming to our police station yesterday. His name is Leon, too, but Leon S. Kennedy. Elliot also agreed. Yes, I thought Mr. Leon was the new guy at first, ha 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 ha. But I don't know what happened to that new guy. He's already been late for a whole day. I hope he is still alive and well and as good as Mr. Leon, so that everyone is willing to applaud him. Chapter 71 Return and Time Difference. Marvel Universe. Stark Mansion in Los Angeles. Diddy. As soon as Leon appeared in the basement, all the instruments and lights turned red and the alarm bells rang as quickly as if urging his life. Dada held the disinfectant spray, rolled over on a roller coaster and sprayed it at him. Benben raised the fire spray on the other side, also ready to go. That's enough. Stop. Am I a burglar? Why are you making such a big fuss? Leon waved his hands at Benben. The alarm bells and red lights finally stopped. Master, you are finally back. It seems that you are not having a good time in the other world. Jarvis' voice appeared. Finally. How long have I been away? It must have been more than 10 years. Leon's heart skipped a beat. If more than 10 years had passed, the Xiaomi incident might have happened. It has been 12 hours and 37 minutes since you left. It is now 7:49 the next morning. Ah. Leon raised an eyebrow. I've only been walking for 12 hours, and you used the word finally. Jarvis, I think you really need to reload your program logic for word choice and sentence construction. Master, these are the words I chose based on Mr. Stark's change in mental state after you left, Jarvis said. So Tony missed me very much? Leon couldn't help laughing. I think so. 3 hours ago, he would ask if you were back every 7 minutes on average. What about the 3 hours just now? Was it once a minute? Mr. Stark fell asleep 3 hours ago. Now he has been alerted and is rushing down. I seemed to hear you saying bad things about me just now. Tony suddenly popped his head out from the stairs. He was wrapped in a white scarf and it was obvious that he had just gotten out of bed and ran towards me. Look whose Peter Pan is. He finally decided to go home. Did he get wronged outside and come back to complain? As soon as Tony saw Leon, his excited expression instantly turned into laziness. He took a crooked step and fell on a chair. Isn't it because I'm worried that the empty-nest elderly people at home will be lonely? Leon felt a little funny. I didn't expect that you can't leave me like this, Tony. It's only been 12 hours and you've already started calling my name in your dreams. Should I come back quickly? I called your name in my dream. Just kidding. Tony laughed until he couldn't laugh anymore. Jarvis said that. What do you say? Chet. Watch your language, Tony. Leon sat down at the table next to Tony. Sir, I did not tell Master Lion that you shouted about his sleep talking 17 times in the past 3 hours. Jarvis complained. Tony slapped him in the face. Good, you said it now. Sorry, sir. Tony turned his neck helplessly and looked at Leon again. So, you suffered in the other world. Why do you say that? Leon was puzzled. Jarvis had just said the same thing. Tony spread his hands and looked around deliberately. It is very obvious that your Super Mark I is lost, along with the Jarvis subsystem inside. His guess makes sense. After all, Leon was still wearing armor when he left, but was alone when he came back. Something must have happened. So that's what you're talking about. Leon suddenly realized, I left the armor there on purpose. The situation in that world is like this. He simply recounted the process of his time travel and what happened in the Resident Evil world. It just omitted the part about studying the fusion of Kryptonian blood and virus. Tony stroked his chin in thought. World consciousness and virus is very interesting. But one thing is strange. You also spent 12 hours in that world. That's right. You mean the speed of time on both sides is the same? Leon nodded. I thought of that, too. It's amazing, isn't it? Tony clapped his hands. That's the problem. He picked up a box and a pencil and threaded the pencil into the box. You must know that the speed of time flows differently in spaces with different gravitational forces going on. Don't tell me you don't know. Tony was serious as if he was in class. Leon nodded in confusion. Of course I know this. It's the theory of relativity. According to the theory of general relativity, the greater the gravity in a region of the universe, the slower the flow of time. Excellent. Tony pushed the pencil through the box. He pointed to the pencils on both sides of the box and said, suppose this box separates two universes, and this pencil traveled through time. The left side of the box has more space, while the right side has less space. At this moment, the two of them were in the front half of the garage, and the size of the space was very aptly described. So, Tony said, assuming that the larger part of the space has a larger mass, and the smaller part has a smaller mass, do you think the speed of time will be the same on both sides? Leon was stunned. No, unless the masses of the two universes are equal, and the mass of the space in the part of the Earth where I am is also equal. That's right. Tony put the box down and snapped his fingers. But the chances of this happening are incredibly small. Do you still think it's reasonable for the two worlds to have the same time flow rate? It was as if a flash of lightning flashed through Leon's mind. He frowned, suddenly realizing. He would think that the speed of time flowing in the two worlds should be the same. Actually, this is because it is written this way in many novels I have read before. So he subconsciously thought so. However, in fact, it is probably precisely this kind of thinking that leads to the same speed of time flow. Tony looked at Leon's expression of realization before continuing. I think that when you travel between two worlds, you are probably traveling through time. It's not like our world stops functioning after you leave. The vast universe will not stop and wait for you just because of your little energy. The truth of the matter should be that you came back and entered this moment in time. As for when to start, whether it's the moment you leave or some time after you leave, it should be decided by you. And if you choose a different time entry point, your own consumption may also be different. You need to experiment a few more times on your own. Tony once again felt the joy of educating his younger brother and patted Leon's shoulder proudly. You have to think more. Having a good brain is not enough. You have to think more, kid. Tony looked like an experienced person. If he were in a different cultural background, he would probably say that he has tasted more salt than Leon has walked. Leon looked at Tony helplessly. You're awesome this time, okay? He sighed. So Tony became even happier and started humming a tune. Okay, take your time to be proud of yourself. I'll go back in time and try again. Leon chose to let Tony be beautiful alone. Wait. Tony stood up suddenly, his white scarf falling off. You have to take me with you this time. It's only 1% of the energy. One more person doesn't matter. It's very dangerous. Don't get infected with the virus as soon as you go over there. Leon glanced around and found a triangular light on Tony's chest. You installed the reactor again. Does that mean you have successfully synthesized the new element? Tony smirked. Yes, I synthesized it 2 hours after you left. I call it potassium. What do you think? The corner of Leon's mouth twitched. How should I put it? It's pretty awesome. If Dad knew you named the new element like that, he would definitely get up and punch you. Sorry, the old guy has been cremated and can't get up. Tony has a talent for telling jokes from hell. So, will you let me go with you? I need to think about it. By the way, who said I don't like to think? Who is it? Who dares to say that to you? Why is this person so annoying? Tony pretended to look around. Chapter 72 Desperate Virus. Leon finally agreed to Tony's request to go with him. After all, the Resident Evil world really poses no threat to the two brothers. Even if you accidentally get infected with the virus, there are vaccines and serums that have been developed just in case. Just think of it as taking Tony on vacation. I remember the last time we took a family trip was when I graduated from junior high school. Tony, Pepper, and the other two went to Dubai together. We planned to go on a trip, but ended up having a 3-day party in a villa in Dubai. He had just graduated from junior high school and almost graduated there again. This time we went to Resident Evil together just to make up for our high school graduation trip. Leon called Natasha in his bedroom. Because before leaving, Tony also wants to install some recording equipment on his armor to record the process of crossing. So he had to wait a few hours. While waiting, he suddenly remembered that a virus also appeared in the Iron Man movie. It's called the Desperate Virus. This virus can give the host extraordinary abilities such as super regeneration, super strength, speed, etc. Some hosts also have the ability to create flames and electricity. This virus may be obtained and used as a reference for developing the S-virus. So Leon immediately contacted Natasha. What's the mission? Natasha went straight to the point as soon as the phone was connected. Why are you so straightforward? Can't it be that I just want to care about the living conditions of my dear subordinates? Leon said stubbornly. It's not even 8 in the morning yet. I really can't imagine what else the man who refused to pay me 4 days ago would do by calling me at this time except to arrange a task. Well, Leon didn't expect Natasha to have such deep resentment. Well, there is a mission. You said that I'm in an office building in New York and the surroundings are safe now. Natasha said that no one was eavesdropping on the conversation. Do we have a widow undercover at a lab? I need a virus they are researching called Extremis. Leon stated his intention. Natasha was silent for a few seconds, as if she was looking up some information. The widow, codenamed Tracy, previously worked there as a mid-level researcher. She quickly responded. You can pick up the virus test kit in Tennessee in 3 hours, or I can deliver it to you in Los Angeles at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Natasha's work efficiency is simply sky high. Let me go over there, it will be faster this way. Leon couldn't help but smack his lips. I have to say, the sisters are really amazing. Then you can spend more time drinking with them. They have been thinking about you for a long time. That's it, I'm hanging up. Natasha hung up the phone directly. Leon was stunned for a moment, threw his phone on the table, and curled his lips. It's outrageous for a subordinate to dare to kiss his superior. 3 hours later, the former Red House safe house in Tennessee. Leon was taken into the house by Natasha. This is a cabin in the woods. From the outside, it looks like a traditional Western-style country wooden house. It is only 2 stories high and can accommodate a family of 5 at most. But after Leon walked into the dark room in the basement of the cabin, what we saw was a modern base with 4 underground floors. There weren't many people in the base, just a few widows who had had drinks with him twice. After seeing him, several people greeted him warmly and continued to do their own things. Natasha took Leon into the innermost command room. She took out a reagent and a USB drive from the safe. This was just stolen by me and a few sisters outside with the help of Tracy. Do you want to use it for research? Natasha said. I took a look at some research records and it seems that there are still big problems at present. Thank you for your hard work, Nada. Leon took the reagent and observed it in front of his eyes. I know there is something wrong with it. It's just that I'm researching a virus that can give humans super regenerative abilities. The extremis virus might give me some inspiration. Regeneration. Natasha's eyes wavered slightly. Can it cure physical defects? Yes, but that virus still has serious side effects and cannot be used directly. Leon patted Natasha's arm, but I am confident that I can fix its flaws, and quickly. Then I'll wait. Natasha directly put her arm around Leon's arm and stroked his hard chest muscles. So, this boss who doesn't care about anything, can you give me the salary today? Here. Leon glanced around and saw that there was only one desk in the command room. Natasha followed his gaze, sat on the desk with a cat-like step, and crossed her legs. Right here, right now. An hour and a half later, Leon helped Natasha put her clothes in order. She had fallen into a chair and couldn't stand up. My opinion is that if you are a weak person, it is best not to have a strong addiction. Leon pinched Natasha's cheek with his fingers to deform it. Natasha rolled her eyes. Can't you be gentler? You are slandering me. I have always been complying with your needs. Leon straightened the damaged version of Natasha on the chair. He turned and left. I'll leave now that my salary has been paid. You guys continue with the task of freeing other widows. Remember to be safe and contact me if anything happens. Leon, Natasha suddenly shouted again. Do you know that Vanguard technology is kidnapping beggars for human experiments? Leon was stunned. They are starting to do this now. What do you want to do when you say this? If you agree, it can become Stark's property in 2 days, said Natasha. Leon raised his eyebrows. Great, of course I agree, but you have to be careful, and I understand. I'll contact you if I have anything to say. Natasha smiled. That's good to know. I'm leaving now. Leon pulled up his trousers and left without taking a single cloud with him. Of course, he did not forget to take the extremis virus and the USB flash drive with him. 1 p.m. The basement of the Stark mansion. Where did you go just now? I couldn't find you at home, and Jarvis couldn't locate you. Tony stood with his hands on his hips in his armor. God knows how excited he is to be able to travel across the world. He has been modifying his armor at the fastest speed in his life. As a result, his own naughty little brother disappeared at the critical moment. For him, this is like not being able to find a toilet when having diarrhea. I asked Natasha to help me get a copy of the extremis virus, which will be helpful for my research in another world. Leon gestured to the metal box in his hand. What is extremis? Tony was curious. It's a biochemical virus developed by an old acquaintance of yours. Gillian. Leon briefly introduced the origin of the virus. It sounds like a good idea, although the possibility of achieving stable injection is not high. Tony nodded. But who is Killian? I know him. He urged impatiently. Let's not talk about these irrelevant people now. Hurry up. Let's start crossing now. Okay, no problem. Leon put his hands on Tony's armor's shoulders and enveloped him with a biological force field. Then close your eyes. The consciousness sank into the dark space of the search world again. Chapter 73 World Changes. This place is no longer empty. Instead, there is a permanent chaos bubble. As long as Leon's consciousness comes into contact with it, he will understand that the bubble represents the world of Resident Evil, and this world is permanently open to him, with unconditional entry. However, when he chose to travel back to the moment when he left the Resident Evil, the energy requirement reflected by the shuttle ability is as high as 30% of the physical strength. It was 30 times as much as his first time traveling. Leon tried to postpone the time of the crossing. I found that with every passing day, my physical strength decreased by 1%. It was postponed until the 30th day after his departure. The amount of physical strength required to return to 1% of the original state. Going further back, to the 31st day, the 32nd day, the energy required did not change at all. It was just 1% of physical strength. Tony is right, Leon thought thoughtfully. Traveling to a point in time in the past requires double the energy. Traveling into the future means the energy consumption remains the same. That means I've only been back for 6 hours, but 30 days have passed in the Resident Evil world. He then tried to choose a time point when he was still in the Resident Evil world, which was the night of September 9th. It turned out that period could not be selected. Even going further back in time, including the time before the biochemical crisis, there was no choice. In other words, based on the time when I appeared in that world, I cannot travel through the past, but I can choose the future at will. Leon was thoughtful. He then tried to use his ability to travel through time and space to select Tony, marking him as another life that would follow him through time and space. As a result, the energy required suddenly increased to 11%. Leon then tried to mark the entire Stark Villa and followed through. But I found that the energy requirement is still about 11% of physical strength. The extra energy required after traveling through the villa was almost the same as the energy consumed by taking a breath of air conditioning. The energy consumed by carrying life across is extremely huge, but carrying matter does not consume much energy. Leon roughly understood the mechanism of the teleportation ability and stopped researching it. He reminded Tony, "Get ready, it's about to begin." "It's ready. Come on. I can't wait to try the cheeseburger from another world," Tony shouted excitedly. Finally, Leon confirmed in his consciousness that he had traveled to the time point 30 days after he left the Resident Evil world. The next moment, the two disappeared from the spot. Resident Evil world, October 10. In a tropical rainforest. Two figures that shouldn't belong here suddenly appeared, startling a flock of birds. After Leon opened his eyes, he immediately looked at Tony, who was wearing armor beside him. He used his supervision to observe and confirmed that Tony's body was still the same as before with kidney deficiency, and he was immediately relieved. He waited there for a few seconds. Suddenly, the Iron Man shuddered, the light on the visor came on, and Tony woke up. Exclamation, exclamation. When I opened my eyes, I saw unfamiliar woods and wetlands. Tony subconsciously exclaimed, "Leon, awake. Your physical fitness still needs to be improved." "I've been waiting for a long time," Leon teased. "So long? But I do feel like I took a nap." Tony patted his head through the visor. "Where is this? The Amazon rainforest. Oh, and here's my recorder." Tony slapped himself awake. "Jarvis, did the recorder record the process of crossing? Especially the empty space that Leon described where he couldn't open his eyes? Why don't I have that feeling at all? It's as if I just took a nap and came here." He was very annoyed. Jarvis said, "Sir, just now in the garage, for unknown reasons, all the circuits of the armor were disconnected and the equipment did not function properly." "How come?" Tony looked disappointed. "Does that mean we didn't record anything?" The armor's circuit was actually disconnected at the beginning of the journey. Leon said, "It happened to me last time. I guess this is a protective mechanism. There's a saying that the amount of information out there is too much for humans to handle, and just looking at it could kill your brain. So you slept soundly during the journey. Maybe it was a kind of protection." Tony shook his head. "Maybe so. Where are we now? Let Jarvis connect to the internet and try searching." Leon closed his eyes and began to listen to the voices from all over the world. For a moment, explosions, screams, quarrels, crying, roaring, countless negative information came flooding in. Leon suppressed his super hearing almost subconsciously. How could this happen? He was puzzled. He had clearly resolved the crisis in Raccoon City when he left, and had arranged everything, leaving Jarvis behind. Why did the sound I just heard seem like the whole world was falling into an abyss? There is hardly a place on the entire earth that is not shrouded in smoke. There were sounds of gunfire and wailing everywhere. What happened in this world in 30 days? As Leon was wondering, an invisible wave descended. He thought about it and used his teleportation ability to connect to that wave. All sorts of complex emotions, including ecstasy, resentment, frustration, and relief, suddenly rushed into his consciousness. Leon was stunned for a moment and sorted out the information. Leave, evolve, lose control, gift, save. Gift, save. The world consciousness keeps sending out repeated requests for help. Leon realized. I'm afraid it was during the time he was away. What the world consciousness did. This has pushed the world to the brink of losing control. Another gift. You want me to clean up your mess. What are you going to give me this time? Leon felt that he had to raise the price. It would be best if his scientific research ability could be improved by 1 or 2 times. However, as soon as he conveyed his thoughts to the world consciousness, the other party immediately responded with helplessness. In other words, the previous improvement was already the highest level. Are you such a loser? Leon couldn't help but curse. The world consciousness suddenly felt timid, as if it were a trembling child. Then what else can you give me? Leon sighed. The words fell. The ground around him suddenly appeared with dots of white and gold light. Only he can see these lights. They gathered together and condensed into a larger ball of light, then floated towards Leon, trying to merge into his body. Leon knew that this was a gift and did not reject it. However, the next moment, the ball of light had just merged into the body, but was bounced out again. Leon was stunned. Immediately, the world consciousness sent him more information. He understood it after analysis. The ball of light in front of you can transform the human body into a physique that can perfectly adapt to all products in the Resident Evil series. It can be said to be a positive reinforcement without any side effects. However, just as the ball of light was about to begin to merge, it was spontaneously expelled by the Iron Man's immune system. Apparently, his immune system thought this was a useless thing meant to weaken him. This kind of thing is of no use to me. Leon felt a headache. That's right. He clapped his hands. You can merge it into the person next to me, and it will be almost like giving it to me. World consciousness expresses obedience. Then the ball of light slowly merged into Tony's body. At this time, Tony's visor popped open and he was looking at Leon like a fool. What are you doing? Are you having a synaptic collapse and suddenly having a seizure? Tony said sharply. Something else is melting into me. Who are you talking to? Oh, what is this? Someone stuffed a hot water bottle into me. Tony suddenly jumped up, scratching his head and cheeks, and touched his body randomly with his hands. He even untied his armor, ran out, lifted up his shirt and felt around carefully. You look more like a madman now. Leon complained. I was communicating with the world consciousness just now, and it transformed your body. This warm feeling all over my body is a transformation? It turns me into a Kryptonian too? Tony was stunned. No, it allows you to stuff all kinds of native and unique biological factors from this world into your body at will, and they can all blend perfectly. What kind of transformation is this? Tony tilted his head back in disgust. It sounds like they're going to turn me into a Frankenstein. It's better to have a gift from the world consciousness than nothing. Be content. Leon spread his hands indifferently, and then he received emotions shared by the world consciousness. Save. Evolve. More. Well, there are subsequent performance rewards. Let's understand the situation first. Leon flew up. It seems that some bad changes have taken place in this world. Tony also put on his armor again and took off. The two of them floated in the air side by side, and suddenly, a different voice of Jarvis came from the mark Roman 4 on Tony. Master Leon, you're finally back. Jarvis' tone was always full of mechanical feeling, but this time it seemed a little excited. Jarvis, have you connected to the subsystem on the Super Mark I? Leon asked, what happened during the time I was away? Why is the whole world at war? Master Leon, a lot of things happened after you left. I'm afraid it's hard to explain for a while. It's okay, just be brief and focus on the key points. Leon motioned Tony to fall back to the ground. Chapter 74, Destroy the World in 3 days. After the two landed, Tony took off his armor and let Jarvis play freely. The story begins after Master Leon left. April 9th morning. After you leave, Miss Jill Valentine and Sheriff Marvin, leading the police department, began a carpet search for survivors in the city. By night, the entire city was cleared and even more than 90% of the zombies were eliminated. But as you warned, Umbrella Corporation discovered abnormalities in the city. They airdropped 6 tyrants into the city, but fortunately they were all killed by serum bombs in the end. In order to avoid more serious attacks, Sheriff Marvin decided to take everyone away from Raccoon City overnight. The team of more than 10,000 people left in a mighty manner, and even the military who set up checkpoints outside the city did not dare to stop them. The deserted Raccoon City also caused various forces to lose interest. After several special forces teams were sent in and found nothing, no one paid any attention to this suddenly dilapidated city. A day later, everyone who couldn't wait for your return left temporarily. Officers such as Jill and Marvin were suddenly transferred to the New York Police Department. Miss Shirley and Mr. Bud chose to leave with your newly recruited subordinate Ada Wang. Other survivors were also given official resettlement, although the compensation they received was not good. However, after everything stabilized, Miss Ada Wang was attacked by the HCF organization because she did not submit the G virus. So she asked me to take Shirley and Bud and hide with her in the Canadian countryside. There, I connected to the internet and made all the evidence of Umbrella's crimes public. As Jarvis spoke, he projected the video shot by the armor, with both pictures and text. During this time, Tony couldn't help but comment that Leon had a good eye for choosing a girlfriend this time. After listening to this, Leon frowned. Although there are some twists and turns, it is all developing in a good direction. What happened afterwards? Jarvis replied, the incident occurred on the morning of October 10th. A biochemical crisis broke out in New York City and quickly spread to the world. But then Miss Ada Wang infiltrated Umbrella Corporation and connected me to the intranet. We found the real reason. The crisis that swept the entire world seemed to originate in New York, but its root was actually in Raccoon City. It all started in the early morning of September 9th. As Marvin, Jill, and other police officers led the survivors out of the city, an Umbrella special operator who was mixed in with them stayed quietly. The worker's name is Hank. He sneaked into the Underground Research Institute alone, with the mission of recovering the G virus. Fortunately, all the viruses and vaccines in the institute were destroyed in advance by Mr. Bud. Hank returned empty-handed. However, when he was leaving the institute, he was bitten by a rat that rushed out of the sewer. And this mouse went to the laboratory you destroyed half a day ago after we left the institute. It was infected with a prototype of the S virus. Jarvis projects the surveillance video. Inside, a rat crawled into a collapsed laboratory and crawled out shortly afterwards. The marked time is 9:29 a.m. on September 11, less than an hour after Leon left the Resident Evil world. Jarvis continued, Hank didn't take it seriously after being bitten. He killed the rat and left Raccoon City straight to New York. On the evening of September 9, Hank arrived in New York. October 10, Hank went to Umbrella's New York branch, but he was in very poor condition. In the surveillance video projected by Jarvis, Hank, still wearing his combat uniform, staggered into the office building. The video starts speeding up. 10 minutes later, screams were heard from the building and the crowd rushed out like a tide. Soon, explosions occurred in the building one after another, and a 3-meter-tall behemoth rushed out in flames. It was covered in blood and howled to the sky. The guns and artillery of Umbrella's combat forces could not kill it, but instead caused it to mutate again and again, becoming stronger. Even those who were splashed by its blood began to become like it, with their bodies twisted and mutated. The surveillance footage flashed and jumped to 2 hours later. There is already a dense group of zombies in front of the Umbrella building. Various used heavy weapons were scattered randomly on the ground, but the monster that Hank turned into at the beginning was still standing among the corpses with bloodshot eyes. Hank was inside the Umbrella Corporation, and a mutation occurred, which quickly infected everyone he met. Based on the base number calculation, the probability of an infected person turning into a zombie is over 98%. People who survive the infection and do not turn into zombies will also fall into a coma and be quickly eaten by zombies. The crisis quickly spread throughout New York. The final survival rate of local residents was even less than 1 in 1,000. Jill, Marvin, and others who have just arrived at the New York Police Department. With my remote support, he escaped from New York with difficulty that afternoon. Jarvis switched the video footage and projected New York engulfed in flames. But this is just the beginning. After the situation in New York became irreversible, the military began to use high-powered weapons. But the physical fitness of each of these zombies is more than twice that before the infection. Even among every 100 zombies, there will be a monster like Hank. These monsters have extremely strong vitality. Even if they were hit by a 125 tank gun and only half of their heads were left, they could still survive. To kill them, you must use blanket bombing. However, there are too many monsters. Among the millions of zombies in New York, there are tens of thousands of such monsters, and their number is even increasing. Because as long as ordinary people smell the blood of those monsters, they will be quickly infected and assimilated. Finally, seeing the situation getting out of control, the Eagle side used nuclear weapons. Tony was shocked. Nuclear weapons? Jarvis said, yes. October 10th at 1:19. 3 nuclear bombs were dropped over New York, ushering in chaos in the world. After that night, New York was razed to the ground. But the people of Umbrella obtained the supreme ladder of evolution. They extracted the virus from the zombies. After repeating the experiment, they found out, although there will be a super zombie among every 100 zombies, but among every 100 infected people, there will also be a survivor who can remain sane and will not turn into a zombie. These survivors will fall into a coma after being infected, but will be no different from normal people after waking up. They will even gain immunity due to their perfect fusion with the virus, becoming extremely powerful, agile, and intelligent. A trader in Umbrella named Albert Wesker. At that time, he suddenly returned to Umbrella Corporation and took the initiative to participate in the experiment. After being injected with the virus and surviving it, his strength reached 20 tons and his speed reached 150 meters per second. So Umbrella called the virus extracted from these zombies the apotheosis virus. Later, a man named Wesker became stronger and quickly took control of Umbrella. By then, I had already published evidence of Umbrella's crimes, and they were being wanted by countries all over the world. But Wesker didn't care about it, and instead directly launched his human evolution plan. That is to release the God-ascending virus all over the world. London, Berlin, Monaco, Moscow, Tokyo. Umbrella is a global pharmaceutical company. They have branches in almost all countries. These branches are still capable of releasing the virus even when facing a wanted order. So on October 10th, European time, overnight, the airborne Denshin virus spread to most parts of the world. Within a few hours, the capitals of hundreds of countries fell one after another. 5 days later, the White Bear country abandoned its eastern European borders, relocated all survivors to Siberia, and established a temporary capital on the frozen soil. Most of the cities of John Bull and Gallicus fell, and the temporary command post was moved to the air defense base. What defeated them was not the strength of the zombies, but the infection efficiency of the virus and their own loose management system. Until December 10, the best country in the world. The only country left is the Rabbit country, which has strict customs and strong mobilization capabilities. All of their soldiers are wearing protective clothing and fighting on the southwest and northern borders. The virus was successfully blocked at the border. 10-month, 15-day. More and more superhumans who survived the virus were noticed. It is also because of the existence of this group of people that the situation of various countries resisting zombies has undergone new changes. 10-month, 16-day. The entire United States is caught in a zombie crisis and the economy has come to a complete standstill. On this day, Texas declared independence. On the one hand, the military's bombing of New York destroyed the morale of the country. On the other hand, a group of superhumans stepped to the fore, seized power amid fire and speeches, and formed a new official. 10-month, 17-day. 16 states, including Florida and Louisiana, declared independence. It was also on this day that Jill, Marvin, and others, who had traveled around the states for several times, were trapped in a small town in Missouri. I received a rescue signal and rushed to help, eliminating the zombies around the town. 10-month, 18-day. With my help, Jill and others returned to Raccoon City, Colorado. At Ada Wang's request, I went to Canada to bring Bud and the others to Raccoon City. Everyone gathered again. 10-month, 19-day. Ada Wang made the information he found public. Everyone knows that the Denshin virus is actually the prototype of the S virus developed by Master Leon. That day, Jill took the initiative to ask me for the virus concentrate and injected himself in the wild. She survived, and because the virus is injected in its original form, she became a being stronger than the average superhuman, with a strength of over 30 tons and a speed of over 200 meters per second. 10-month, 23-day. Colorado declared independence under the leadership of Jill, with its capital in Raccoon City. By this day, most of the southern states and counties in the United States had become independent, and only 7 northern states still supported the old government. 10-month, 27-day. A force called Family has seized the power of the old officials of Eagle Sauce. They dropped a nuclear bomb each on the already fallen Moscow and London. The reason is to eliminate the zombies and save humanity. 10-month, 28-day. The White Bear Country dropped a nuclear bomb on Washington with the same reason of saving humanity, but the old officials of the United States failed to intercept it successfully. Early in the morning of June 10, that was early this morning, the old officials announced that they would launch a nuclear strike on the temporary capital of the White Bear Country. The White Bear Country also announced that it would launch a nuclear strike on the capitals of all independent countries within the territory of Eagle Sauce. There are still 5 hours before they launch dozens of nuclear bombs at once. At this point, Jarvis finally stopped. But the trembling in Ritoni's brain could no longer be stopped. His heart trembled when he heard it, and he looked at Leon with great shock. "Is this the virus you developed?" Tony's pupils trembled. "You've only been here for 12 hours, and you almost destroyed a world." Leon's face turned black. "I developed the virus, but I also destroyed it. I destroyed all the virus containers and the laboratory. I even used X-ray vision to confirm that there were no living creatures around the laboratory. Not even a spider. Where on earth did that mouse come from? And what a coincidence. After it was infected, it didn't bite anyone, but precisely transmitted the virus to Hank and was beaten to death. This is the work of the world consciousness. It messed itself up and now I have to clean up the mess." Leon connected the emotions shared by the world consciousness before and finally understood. Leave, evolve, lose control, gift, save. Gift, save. Leaving refers to his leaving. Evolution means that world consciousness drives evolution. The consciousness of this world of feelings is only superficial emotions, without logical thinking, and I thought that he would never come back after he left. So, in order to continue to promote biological evolution around the world, as soon as he left, he quickly drove away a mouse and ran to the ruins of the laboratory to breathe in the air there. After all, the S-virus prototype can survive for 6 hours after it escapes. Leon estimated that some of it evaporated when he destroyed the container. But there are only a few strains of the virus floating in the air at most, and even if someone goes in, they can leave safely. However, all those virus strains were sucked into the mouse's lungs and multiplied wildly in its body. After it finished sucking, it immediately ran out of the laboratory to wait for Hank, its destined person. You said that this matter was entirely caused by the world consciousness. Can it be blamed on him? I really didn't expect that this world consciousness is still radical. Leon rubbed his forehead. Forget it. Let's go to Raccoon City first, and then we'll see what to do next. Chapter 75 Authority, Genetic Self-Lock. Jarvis' subsystem notified Jill and others early on. When Leon and Tony flew to Raccoon City, all their old acquaintances were already waiting outside the city. Raccoon City is very different today than when he left. Circles of steel fences wrapped with electric wires and iron spikes surround the entire city. Thick coal smoke was floating over the city, and it smelled very pungent. As soon as Leon landed, Shirley rushed out from the crowd. "Brother Leon." The little girl jumped onto Leon and hugged him with tears in her eyes. "I was always worried that you wouldn't come back, but Sister Ada said you wouldn't abandon us. You're finally back. Sorry. Leon rubbed Shirley's head. "I've been away for too long. I promise I'll take you with me this time." On the other side, Jill, King Ada, and others also came over. "You're talking about leaving right after you got back. Boss, how about killing that world consciousness before you leave this time?" Ada Wang was wearing a windbreaker and had a band-aid on his face. Although he looked disheveled, he still looked elegant. "Leon, welcome back. I didn't expect that the world consciousness would cause such a disaster. It's really hard to describe." Jill also had a complicated expression. She was wearing combat uniform, but her aura was different from before, with a bit more fierceness and decisiveness. The experience during this period has enabled her to grow into a qualified leader. "Do you also think that our world is hopeless? Is there no way?" Jill pursed her lips, wanting to ask for help, but didn't know where to start. "Oh, let's not talk about this, Mr. Leon. I didn't expect that when we meet again, the world has become like this. But you are still so energetic, which really makes me happy." Director Bud greeted with a smile. Jarvis had told them the whole truth. Everyone present felt that the future was bleak and gloomy, but this does not affect their gratitude to the sunny man in front of them. Leon's eyes swept across the faces in front of him. Marvin, Bud, Elliot, all the familiar people were there. Apparently, the world consciousness has secretly helped over the past month. Otherwise, how could these people, who were cannon fodder in the original work, survive a more serious global crisis? It's just saving a world. It's not that much trouble. Leon opened his arms and hugged everyone. "Don't be so sad. I promise that the children will still have quiet desks in the future, and the world will still have bright sunshine. I created the virus, so how can I not solve it? Of course the world needs to be saved. It's not just because of the people in front of me, also because the world consciousness had descended again just a moment ago and offered him a price he could not refuse. Control over half of the world, plus the ability to self-lock genes. Leon has never come into contact with the authority mentioned above, but he can only say that it sounds very impressive. And the gene self-locking ability behind it. It is the ability that was tailor-made for him by the world consciousness, which enables him to actively control the stability of his own genes. With this ability, he will be more controllable when conducting research on Kryptonian bloodline. Moreover, it will be able to actively block its own genes in the future to prevent the outflow of genes. Specifically, when blood and hair leave his body, all genetic information that he does not want to flow out will automatically be lost. Such ability is as important to Lion as enhancing its strength at the moment. To be honest, Lion doesn't want to clean up the mess caused by this radical world consciousness. But there is no way, it just gives too much. More importantly, these rewards can only be issued if Leon successfully saves the world and promotes biological evolution. Otherwise, the world consciousness cannot give it even if it wants to. When it gives rewards, it never looks at what Leon wants, but rather at what it has. What do you mean? Something called hope appeared in the eyes of everyone present. Let's go in and talk. By the way, let me introduce you. This is my brother, Tony Stark. He just came along for a look. Leon pointed at the iron lump beside him and introduced it. Only then did everyone realize that there was a person in the golden and red armor, and it was not another Jarvis. So you are Mr. Leon's brother. I've heard a lot about you. Your brother is truly a great man. I'm sure you are also an excellent person. A group of people immediately surrounded Tony and spoke well of Leon. Tony was so speechless that the corners of his mouth twitched. This is what he hates to hear the most. And these people got one thing wrong. They should say so. Leon is your younger brother. No wonder he is so outstanding. Tony decided that he must give these natives from another world some shock from genius. The Raccoon City Police Department now serves as the Capitol Office building of the Republic of Colorado. As the leader, Jill works here every day or sets out from here to eliminate zombies. In the police station conference room, Bud, director of the National Virus Research Center, and Marvin, director of the National Security Administration, and others all sat at the bottom. Lion, standing in the main seat, felt a little disillusioned. To him, it was just a few hours of absence. As a result, the former small police officers and small directors have all become national figures. Although this country had just been established, its population was only a few 100,000, and most of them were still huddled in the small town of Raccoon City. But it still makes people feel a little uncomfortable. The most important problem now is that we have no means to stop the nuclear bomb that the White Bear country is about to launch. Jill analyzed from the side. Besides that, the number of zombies migrating from other countries' territories is still increasing, and our defensive pressure is increasing. Especially the super zombies. Except for me and Iron Man, no one in Raccoon City can resist them. There are now more than 40 countries within the territory of the United States. Almost every state has a new official. What was once communication between states suddenly became an international negotiation. It's really weird. Jill looked at Leon and said, "It's up to you to decide what to do next." Let me think. The solution is actually very simple. I will destroy the nuclear bomb and then kill the super zombies. After understanding the general situation, Lion made a decision directly. Only great efforts can make miracles happen. I will solve these problems before tonight. But if we want to save the world, ordinary zombies are the biggest problem. Even if we can produce the corresponding antiviral serum, it will still be a long-term problem to solve them. For example, in India, almost 80% of ordinary people have died or turned into zombies. If those nearly 1 billion zombies were not without intelligence, they would have taken over the world long ago. What can ordinary people use to compete with them? Not to mention the zombie birds, zombie rats, and zombie insects that are now all over the world. There is only one way to reverse the situation. Leon put his hands on the table, study the updated S-virus, and turn every ordinary person into a superhuman. Chapter 76: Destroying the Nuclear Bomb. End of the meeting. Jill stayed in the former director's office to handle affairs. Marvin and others accompanied Lion around the city and then went to the Underground Research Institute. They had previously dug a skylight above the institute and built a new elevator that provides direct access to the facility's main entrance. Everyone took the elevator down. I don't think I can eat hamburgers in this world, Tony complained to Leon in a low voice. The virus has simply made this place go back to the Middle Ages. Even the streets are full of people sleeping, and the stench of excrement is everywhere. So, you regret following me now? Leon asked in a low voice. Regret? Tony looked at me as if he was joking. What does this word mean? Sorry, I don't know this word. His big eyes were full of seriousness. Now that I'm here, I have to do something for this world, just to wash away your sins. Don't joke. Can you blame me for this? I didn't know the world consciousness could be so exciting. Leon retorted. It was indeed a joke just now, but I really had to do something. Have you forgotten? I am Iron Man, Tony emphasized. Okay, Iron Man. What do you want to do? Work on a new suit here? Study your S-virus prototype? Are you kidding me again? Your research areas are energy, materials, and machinery. Am I a jokester? Well, let me ask you a few questions about biochemistry. Leon asked a few questions in the field of biochemistry that he thought were cutting edge, and Tony answered them all fluently. You actually answered all of them? When did you secretly get a PhD in biology? How come I didn't know about it? Leon was surprised. Tony shrugged. I studied it for a few days after you said you wanted to study Kryptonian genes. Only a few days? Then you are a genius. Do you think you're the only one who learns things quickly? Tony shook his head indifferently. Learning speed is only the basis of becoming a genius, kid. Leon suddenly realized that Tony's learning speed was not much slower than him, a man with a super brain. The other party is indeed worthy of Thanos' evaluation of a person cursed by knowledge. After the elevator arrived at the institute, Tony pulled Leon into the laboratory. Tony got the hang of the S-virus very quickly. Often, before Leon has finished explaining the previous sentence, he has already figured out what the next 3 sentences will contain. For the first time, Leon felt the ability to understand things as quickly as a super brain in someone else. The two discussed and experimented at the same time. When one of them has an inspiration, it always inspires the other. Their inspiration is like the left foot stepping on the right foot, constantly spiraling upwards. Director Bud and his assistants are there to assist. They were all staring in confusion, not understanding why there were such perverted people in the world, and 2 of them at once. After half an hour, a tube of orange reagent came out. The S-virus prototype vaccine can form antibodies to block viral infection and can be effective through the air, but it will also eliminate the strengthening effect of the S-virus prototype. Tony stroked his chin and said, It's enough for now. Hey, you can use it to conduct experiments on mice. Leon also had a bottle of golden reagent. The S1 virus has been successfully improved. The probability of mutation after infection has been reduced to 70%. The strengthening effect remains unchanged, but it is still a long way from the final goal. He pulled out the suitcase he had brought with him. After opening it, take out the extremis virus and the USB drive. Tony, try to see if you can fuse the extremis virus and the S1 virus first. Leon took off his white lab coat and said, Further improvement of the virus will require other references. I'll go find some and destroy some nuclear bombs. Then you have to speed up. I'm afraid that in a few hours, even the perfect version of the S-virus will appear on this table. Tony stared at the bottle of golden virus solution. After in-depth research, he clearly realized that this virus can indeed be called a ladder of biological evolution. Tony thought it was worth the trip to see such a creation. What's more, he felt that it wouldn't be long before he could create a truly perfect virus. By then, perhaps the brothers will really be able to promote the evolution of the entire world. It's exciting to think about it. I hope so. I hope you can create the final version of the S virus directly. Leon is not worried about Tony's infection. With his special physique, there is no possibility for Tony to turn into a zombie. No matter how infectious the virus is in the Resident Evil world, it can only make him more powerful now. Leon left the Underground Research Institute and soared into the sky. He accelerated in the air, and 5 seconds later he broke through the atmospheric exosphere and floated in the universe. His sleeves fluttered silently in the void, and his supervision covered the entire world, locking onto the super zombies on the surface one after another. Judgment is coming. 2 heat rays, like a punishment from heaven, fell to the ground from outer space. For the Earth in this era, it is simply the most deadly space-based weapon in science fiction movies. The super zombies wandering aimlessly on the ground were suddenly enveloped by the heat coming from the sky. Tens of trillions of cells in its body wailed in unison, and were blasted into the most primitive molecules in an instant. The red beam of light that reached the sky plowed the ground. It's like God holding chopsticks and stirring up the world. Wherever it passes, the world collapses and the ocean evaporates. In the territory of the Asan Kingdom, millions of super zombies roared to the sky, as if challenging the punishment from God, but they were instantly reduced to ashes in a beam of light. The whole world began to focus on these 2 beams of light that seemed like a punishment from heaven. Watch it sweep from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean, and then it spread all the way from South Asia to Africa. It also blasted deeper gullies next to the Great Rift Valley of East Africa. Wherever he passed, the sea was divided and the clouds were broken, just as Moses stretched out his rod toward the sea and God parted the sea. When the whole world was plowed by 2 beams of light, the divine punishment that came from the sky gradually died down. The evil people who stirred up trouble felt as if they were falling into the abyss, while the refugees in dire straits prostrated themselves and prayed. At this moment, they all believed in the existence of God. But Leon's actions did not stop there. He took 20 minutes to eliminate tens of millions of super zombies on Earth. Next, there is a nuclear bomb waiting for him. He twisted on his side and dived into the Earth. People in this world don't deliberately use lead to block prying eyes. With a glance, Leon could see all the nuclear bomb storage locations on the Earth. He can pass through mountains and dive into the sea. Even a base strong enough to withstand a nuclear explosion cannot last long in front of him. A few minutes later, Leon used a bioforce field to wrap tens of thousands of nuclear bombs from Eagle Sauce and White Bear, pushing them into space together, until it is hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the atmospheric exosphere. Leon then used heat rays to destroy all the nuclear bombs. High temperature and high pressure induce fusion, brilliant fireworks explode in the universe, and invisible penetrating radiation and electromagnetic pulses spread in circles. Countless satellites witnessed this scene together at this moment. Leon had his back to the earth, his figure swaying in the firelight, like a god who looked down upon the heavens and the earth and could pick up everything. When he turned around, he did not use the bioforce field to cover his face. Half of his cheek was illuminated by the firelight, and the other half was bathed in sunlight. Countless screens around the world were recording Leon's face at this moment. This face, which looked like it was carved by a knife or an axe, has been deeply engraved in the minds of countless people in front of the screen. Chapter 77, Collecting Experimental Materials and Carnival. Raccoon City. Ada Wang, Jill, and others were also watching Leon's figure on the screen. He just destroyed all the nuclear bombs of the Eagle and the Bear. Even someone as calm as Ada felt her brain heating up a little at this moment. Jill stared at the screen and smiled bitterly. I thought that after becoming a superhuman, I had narrowed the gap between us, but I didn't expect him to be so strong. Brother Leon, that's awesome. Shirley raised her hands and cheered. He saved us again. Marvin and one of his men looked at each other and spread his hands. See, this is why we all call you Kennedy instead of Leon. Leon S. Kennedy shook his head helplessly. Maybe I should come up with a nickname. Otherwise, it would be very stressful to have the same name as this gentleman. In the research institute, everyone who saw the nuclear bomb explosion cheered. Tony took a quick glance and continued his research. He is the one who knows Lyon's strength best. Next, it's the Plaka parasite and the E-mold. Lyon dived into the Earth again and disappeared from the sight of all satellites. Without any cover, he fell like a meteorite, with friction flashing around him due to the high speed, and crashed heavily into a village in the Wolf Fang Valley of Spain. Boom! A huge shockwave spread, and dozens of houses in the village were blown away by the air wave. The ground cracked in a spider web-like pattern and collapsed rapidly. After the aftermath, Leon floated up from the 10-meter-deep crater created by the impact and flew towards the castle deep in the village. This castle has been passed down from the Middle Ages and is classical, magnificent, and majestic. Leon couldn't help but stop and admire it for a few minutes. Then he kicked outside the castle, and the entire building complex collapsed instantly. The people inside emerged from the ruins one by one, standing there in shock, but thanks to Leon's control they were unharmed. "Who is Sadler?" Leon asked, but his eyes were directed at a hooded man holding a scepter at the back of the crowd. "Osmond Sadler, leader of the Church of Light, attempts to use the Plaka parasite to control the world." Everyone in the castle ruins turned their eyes to Sadler. The man's face under the hood was hidden in the shadows, and he seemed to be planning some conspiracy thump. Then he knelt down with a thud. "Sir, I'm Sadler." Leon walked over the ruins and came to Sadler, hand over the dominant Plaka parasite. But the dominant type is temporarily gone. "Sir, can you give me some time?" Sadler's body trembled slightly. "No. Isn't this already available?" Leon crushed Sadler's head with one foot and burned his body with heat rays. After a few seconds, a parasite crawled out. "I hate it when people lie to me." He put away the parasites and looked around. "Destroy all the parasites within 3 days, otherwise you will be destroyed." Dust rises. Lyon's silent disappearance was completely different from the grand momentum when he arrived. After a brief silence, the sound of kneeling was heard. A few minutes later, Leon suddenly appeared in a village in Romania. The extremely fast speed, coupled with the biological force field, made his movements appear as if he was teleporting. Same location as last time. There are villages outside this place, but there are castles inside. Leon floated above the center of the castle. He observed for a week, found the cave where the fungus owner was, and dived in. The solid mountain was easily penetrated like tofu. A huge fungal aggregate lurking in a cave appeared in front of Leon. That is the mushroom owner. The mushroom looks like a baby, and its color is almost pink, and it rises and falls as if it is breathing. Leon could even hear the vital rhythm in its body, billions of hyphae transporting nutrients to it. This is the third type of evolution key in Resident Evil mold. Leon took out a syringe, inserted it into the fungus, and drew out a full tube of mycelium. After he put away the test tube, heat rays shot out from his eyes, and in a few breaths, the huge fungus was burned to ashes. "Ah, who destroyed the fungus master?" As soon as the mushroom master was burned to ashes, a shrill howl was heard outside the cave. The reaction was as fast as unplugging the network cable of an internet-addicted girl. As soon as it was unplugged, ghost howlings began over there. Leon remained unmoved. He punched open the dome of the cave, flew into the air, and continued to destroy the mycelium. "How dare you? Stop it now." The woman who was howling before was approaching rapidly. That was Miranda, the earliest infected person of the mold and the owner of this territory. There was a large group of people following behind her. There are men and women, some who look like humans and some who don't look like humans. These are all guys infected with E-mold. Lyon's goal is to destroy the mold. The arrival of these people was exactly what he wanted. According to the development of the Resident Evil game, mold may develop into a world-destroying crisis in the future. Now that he was already here, Leon decided to clear up all these hidden dangers, just as he would complete the mission of saving the world as the world consciousness had promised. He immediately climbed higher and exhaled icy breath with all his strength. After a few seconds, the entire village turned into a huge piece of solid ice, and even the lake outside the village was not spared. Every facet of the huge block of ice is crystal clear. Leon could even see Miranda's expression frozen in a ferocious state through the ice. I think this person has lived for more than 100 years. Molds are indeed unique. He flew to the edge of the ice, and with an effort, he lifted the huge ice block in front of him with a radius of more than 3 kilometers and a height of more than 200 meters, and then flew into space. Soon, satellites from various countries captured Leon's figure again. But this time, everyone in front of the screen was even more confused. Where did this great man find a giant block of ice with people, houses, flowers, plants, and trees on it? Is he performing magic? Leon was seen throwing a block of ice outside the earth and smashing it with another punch. Suddenly, countless ice crystals with a diameter of no more than 1 mm scattered around, like silver-white fireworks blooming in the middle of the night. Everyone in front of the screen couldn't help but say how beautiful to this cosmic wonder. When they came back to their senses and looked at the mysterious figure again, the other person had disappeared again. The other side. As soon as Leon returned to the police station, he was warmly welcomed by everyone. Jill took the lead in shouting out thank you. She saluted with tears in her eyes, then hugged. For a moment, the hall was filled with applause, cheers, and even tears of joy. All kinds of emotions came flooding in, like waves rising and falling. Fireworks went off next to Leon, and colorful confetti fell like a waterfall. There was also champagne. Kennedy pressed his thumb on the bottle, shook it vigorously, and then the wine spurted out with cheers. They all knew what had just happened, and they all knew that the savior in front of them had saved them. They watched on the screen with their own eyes as this man used heat rays to kill super zombies and detonate nuclear bombs. Today is undoubtedly their happiest day in the past month. Everyone surrounded Leon. Whether you are a girl or a boy, you should give him a hard kiss on the cheek and then show off proudly to others. They all saw hope. There were originally no solutions to the super zombies and the nuclear bombs. In Leon, everything was done in less than half an hour. It seemed as if the end of the world was just a noisy game of house in front of this man. Here, the name Leon has completely become synonymous with the future. The men lifted Leon up and threw him into the sky, with smiles on their faces, as if they were throwing up their beloved at their wedding. The women pushed Leon to the podium again, hoping he could say a few more words. Even if it's just one sentence, they will definitely meet this handsome savior in their dreams tonight. Leon is actually not very interested in such occasions. It reminded him of the parties he attended as a child, hanging around Tony's neck. It really can't be said to be a good memory. After all, he can only be a spectator. But the expectant looks from everyone made Leon realize that he'd better say something. So he coughed lightly, looked around the suddenly quiet hall, thought for a moment, and sang the Chinese version of the Internationale. The not so loud singing voice echoed in the lobby of the police station. Gradually, people began to catch up with Leon's pace in English and Russian. When the song ended, some people cheered loudly, while others burst into tears. But they had one thing in common. They were all rushing towards the podium madly, trying to hug Leon again. The revelry at this moment did not end until the night. Later, even Tony ran back to the police station and joined the carnival with a large number of scientific researchers. He danced waltz holding the girl's arm, drank Bordeaux holding the beauty's waist, and the happiness that had disappeared for a month suddenly came at this moment. Chapter 78 SS Type Strengthening Serum. Leon spent the night in a daze. Alcohol couldn't make him dizzy. but the drunken faces that stuck to him made him give up thinking, and in the end it seemed that all kinds of strange things were happening. When he saw Ada and Jill next to him the next morning, he understood what was strange. The two men still reeked of alcohol and were sleeping soundly. So Leon tidied up the corners of the quilt and chose to leave the room first. He washed the blood off some parts of his body in the police station shower room, changed into another set of casual clothes. Then he slowly walked into the underground research institute. Tony, of course, wasn't here at this moment. The last time Leon saw him last night, he was disappearing around the corner with two big waves. Tony probably won't get up until noon today. There is actually no other person in the institute now. Yesterday's carnival will probably require this newly established country to press the pause button for a while. Leon simply started researching on his own. He ordered Jarvis to open Tony's research records from yesterday. I originally wanted to take over Tony's results and continue my research. As a result, he was surprised to find that Tony had reduced the infection and mutation rate of the S virus to only 5%. This is actually no different from a true evolution potion. But even for Tony, isn't this progress a little too fast? Leon sat down and carefully looked through the electronic records. It turns out that Tony was stuck in the middle of the experiment, and his subsequent attempts to integrate the extremis virus also failed to work. Finally, he had an idea and chose to use his own blood as the medium, which greatly improved the efficiency of the experiment, have to say. A physique bestowed by world consciousness. It can be said to be a versatile material when it comes to fusion viruses. Finally, Tony analyzed the changes that occurred when the virus merged into his blood, successfully fused the extremis virus and the S virus, and reduced the chance of mutation to 5%. Based on Leon's naming habits, he called this newly synthesized virus the S2 evolved virus. But the subsequent research was not very smooth. Even if Tony found the right way, the virus's infection and mutation rate could not be further reduced. At the bottom of the research record, Tony wrote down a final conclusion. The characteristics of viruses are transmission and mutation. If we want to achieve thorough and safe evolution, we cannot use viruses as carriers. We need to find new media. Leon read Tony's message thoughtfully. A new medium using mold or parasites? No, none of these will work. They are all unstable external objects. We have to find something else. But among the things I've come into contact with, there doesn't seem to be any other substance that can strengthen the human body. Leon glanced at the serum on the table, and suddenly an inspiration flashed in his mind. Wait, super soldier serum, that's right. He stood up and slapped the table excitedly. Jarvis, do you have any forgotten information about the super soldier serum in your database? Like a partial formula or something? Master Leon, there is a relevant document in the mainframe cluster of Stark Industrial Park, but it is incomplete, Jarvis replied. Beautiful. That's what I want. Leon couldn't wait to activate his ability to travel through time and space, disappearing on the spot and reappearing the next moment. He inserted a USB drive into the computer, and a large amount of super soldier information popped up. It seems that there is really no possibility of failure this time. Leon touched his chin. The time soon came to noon. Tony came to the laboratory with sleepy eyes. He originally wanted to tease Leon, but after seeing Leon's research direction, he couldn't sit still for a second. He immediately put on his research clothes and joined the research. Before I knew it, another 6 hours had passed. In the laboratory, when the giant sophisticated synthesizer sounded, the golden solution was poured into a clear syringe. Leon and Tony both had expressions of admiration on their faces. Look at her, how beautiful she is. Tony opened his hands like flowers, showing the syringe. We really did it. At this moment we are simply Prometheus, Leon. Leon also said, it can allow any creature in the world to take a step forward and become a new species. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's the fire in Zeus's hand. It's really amazing. He walked over to the instrument and picked up the syringe. S-virus, E-mold placa parasite, and extremis virus. We referred to the transformation method of the super soldier serum and integrated the mutation factors and evolution factors of these 4 evolution keys into one. Today's new reagents are not contagious and have no side effects. They are just a stepping stone for evolution. After the injection, not only your strength, physique, speed, but also your brain will be fully enhanced. Individuals will also gain virus immunity, super regeneration, limb extension, bacterial control, blood parasitism and manipulation, and the ability to control temperatures of thousands of degrees. It's hard to find a second word to describe it except perfection. So what should this serum be named? How about SS-enhanced serum? After all, it is derived from the S virus. Leon counted on his fingers the characteristics of the new serum and finally made a suggestion. Tony felt that the name was neither good nor bad. It doesn't seem original. It's already so powerful. How about calling it Super Soldier Awesome Extra Large Serum? We have already surpassed that old guy Howard. Not very good. I shouldn't have had hope in your naming skills. It's decided. Let's call it SS-type Strengthening Serum. Leon thought the name Tony came up with was lame. Your name isn't that good either. It sounds like a cheap, industrial mass-produced commercial order. Tony retorted immediately. It's up to you though. It's your serum anyway. And don't tell me that you really plan to spread this serum to every region of the earth. Tony frowned. That will inevitably lead to more crises, more conflicts and contradictions. You must know that. Of course not. Leon took out 2 syringes. Have you forgotten our previous research results? He placed the 3 reagents on the table and explained them one by one. Look at these. This is the SS1 enhanced serum that incorporates only the characteristics of the S virus. The one on the right is the SS1 type, which is based on the SS2 type and incorporates the characteristics of the extremis virus. Finally, there is the perfect SS3 type that we just synthesized. I have already thought about it. I will make SS1 available to the whole world, and only give SS2 to trustworthy people. I will leave SS3 to you. Leon patted Tony on the shoulder. After all, the first 2 serums can be synthesized directly, but the raw materials of SS3 must contain your blood. This serum is destined to be unique to you. Wow, honestly, I'm almost crying when you say that. Tony tilted his head back. His expression was exaggerated. If you hadn't sucked 400 cc of my blood in one go, I would have cried. Don't say that. That's all for the experiment. Come on, I'll take you to eat some delicious blood-replenishing food. Leon put his arm around Tony's shoulders. Delicious? You mean the sticky cereal in this doomsday siege? Tony was not impressed with the food in Raccoon City. You've already said it's the end of the world, and you still want to eat more. As Leon was speaking, a wave suddenly descended. His expression gradually became strange. Chapter 79, More and More Wings. What happened? Why does it suddenly seem like I saw a ghost? Tony stopped, looking surprised. He recalled how Leon looked in the woods yesterday. Oh, I see. Is it that world consciousness that has come again? Leon was stunned for a few seconds. After coming to his senses, he nodded with a strange expression. Its meaning is very complicated, but it roughly means that the SS reagent is not enough, and it needs the previous infectious evolutionary potion. What? Is it saying something like that because its brain is broken? Well, it doesn't have a brain either, Tony exclaimed. He wondered, so why not use SS serum? Because the SS serum is too stable, it no longer has the possibility of further evolution. Leon was speechless. It wants something that is relatively stable, but also has the possibility of evolution or continued mutation. Tony put his hands on his hips. What an interesting idea. It wants to keep evolving. That sounds a lot like what Obadiah said when he gave me advice. Will he also give you complicated suggestions? Like the colorful black ones? Almost. That's why I always ignore him and do what I want. Now the case is solved. No wonder he wanted to kill you. Maybe, but I can't make a rifle that can heat, cool, and navigate as he asks. Strange idea. Sure enough, all parties in the world are weird. Leon returned to the lab table, but fortunately, with the experience of developing the SS Serum, it is now easy to create a new type of S virus. He had no intention of rejecting the demands of world consciousness. After all, if there are any problems in the future, the world consciousness will still have to look for him. If I go to him again, it would be unreasonable not to give him more authority. By then, it will be hard to say who will be the world consciousness. Leon thought that if he really mastered the biochemical world in the future, it would be nice to extract the world consciousness and let Jarvis keep him company 5 minutes later. The final form of the S virus, with an infection mutation rate of only 1 in 1,000, was successfully born. It is almost indistinguishable from the original prototype version and perfectly meets the requirements of evolving global organisms. After the new virus was synthesized, the world consciousness was indeed very satisfied. It exuded a joyful emotion, urging Leon to spread the virus quickly, feeling like a pastoral dog wagging its tail happily. Okay. I'll go out for dinner with Tony and then find someone to experiment with the virus. Leon made repeated assurances, then shrugged at Tony and walked towards the institute elevator together. Yesterday's revelry really caused most people to skip work. The research institute was empty until Leon and the other man left. There were only a few police officers on duty in the police station. On the way to Lyon, he complained that it would be difficult to manage a country with such a loose official organization. It was not until he met Jill that Leon realized that it was President Jill who gave everyone a day off. The reason is that Leon saved the world yesterday, so today was designated as the new Thanksgiving Day. Now Leon had to change his mind and sighed that the new official was very efficient. However, when she saw Jill, this stunningly beautiful woman was actually in a bad mood. In the office of the former police chief, Jill, what's wrong with you? Leon asked Jill, who had a bad look on her face. Tony left when he saw that the situation was not good, and no one knew where he was going with the 2 big waves from last night. Shouldn't I be the one asking you what happened to you? Jill put her right hand on her waist. You did such a ridiculous thing, and then you left me and Ada behind and disappeared for a whole day. I thought you had fled for fear of the crime. The term fleeing from justice refers to criminals and should not be used indiscriminately. Leon corrected. It was clearly you two who got drunk and argued last night and decided to be together, so you can't blame me. In fact, you weren't drunk at all. You were just slightly tipsy and used the excuse of alcohol to do bad things, he added. Jill blushed and turned her face away. Even so, you can't abandon the 2 of us. I didn't abandon you. I tucked in the quilt when I left. Leon picked up the paper cup and took a glass of water. I was just doing experiments with Tony at the research institute, and you didn't tell me that I had a day off today. I'm wondering why there are so few people here today. He drank the water in the cup and looked towards the door again. By the way, Ada, why are you hiding behind the door all the time? The door creaked open. Waiting for you to call me in, of course. Ada pushed the door open and walked in, her steps still a little staggering. Her physical condition is far inferior to Jill's, and she needs some time to recover after being injured. After all, I don't want to disturb the private conversation between my boss and my rival, said Ada. Jill narrowed her eyes when she heard the word rival. Then shouldn't you just pretend you didn't hear it and walk away? Oh, really? I thought Miss President and I were on the same side. Ada sniffed Leon closely. After all, compared to the 2 of us who are just starting out, someone's skills can be said to have reached the pinnacle. Jill was stunned for a moment, then turned his gaze to Leon, thinking that what Ada said made sense. No wonder I felt so. Could it be that you have other Leon coughed. Stop arguing. A president and a director of intelligence are quarreling at a critical moment. How can this country continue to function? The two were speechless. This person was good at diverting conflicts. Leon then spread his arms. So I think, as colleagues, we need to have a good talk together. Is there any problem that cannot be solved by communication? If there is, it must be that there is not enough communication. What communication? Let me finish asking you questions. How? Oh my, you're so impatient. You didn't even wait for me. Ada shook her head and followed. It was another morning, and Leon woke up in his familiar bed. He pulled himself together, woke up the two elves beside him, did some morning exercises, and then washed up and left together. Police station lobby. In stark contrast to the empty scene yesterday, today the place is full of public servants coming and going. Tony was sitting at a table eating. He had dark circles under his eyes, a pale face, and looked like he had kidney deficiency. Leon sat over and stuffed a piece of baguette into his mouth. The taste was hard to describe, but he still chewed the baguette and swallowed it. Tony, did you do bad things with the big waves again last night? Look at yourself. You are obsessed with those things all day long. Do you still look like a scientist? As soon as Leon arrived, he took the moral high ground. If you continue like this, will you be worthy of Pepper? Tony raised his eyebrows. Didn't I pay her this month? I even gave her strawberries a few days ago. Come on. She's not even my girlfriend. How can I be sorry for her? Pepper is allergic to strawberries, Tony. Leon's face straightened. Tony nodded and ate baguette with milk. Yes, so she scolded me seriously after receiving the gift. Then you deserve to be scolded. Seeing Tony eating with relish, Leon couldn't help but take another bite of the baguette, but it still tasted terrible. What about you? Do you think I don't know what you did after the show ended the past 2 days? Tony deliberately elbowed Leon. Are you worthy of the agent sister in your fortress? She is my subordinate, thank you. Leon took a paper cup and poured half of Tony's milk over to him. Oh, subordinates. Tony nodded. He raised the milk and winked. Come on, toast to your subordinates. There's really nothing I can do about you. Well, let me toast to your big wave as well. Leon clinked glasses and drank up the milk. But I still want to remind you that when engaging in continuous high-intensity combat, you must first take care of your body. Leon patted Tony's arm and stood up. We are not the same. If I hadn't had my blood drawn yesterday, I'd be fine now. Tony tried to defend himself. So it's different. When I drew blood, I was just as energetic. Hey, it's great that you're in good health. Tony curled his lips as he watched Leon's departing back. He was silent for a few seconds, biting the baguette in his mouth, and suddenly stood up and walked towards the research institute. No, I have to finish the live experiment quickly and inject the serum. This is a different world, and I can't let this kid be arrogant alone. Chapter 80 National Strengthening. On the afternoon of June 10th. Raccoon City Police Department Conference Room. You said that you have already researched a virus that has a mutation rate of only 1 in 1,000 after infection? Jill stood up in disbelief. Are you serious, Leon? It's not just her. Everyone in the conference room stood up. All kinds of surprised and anxious eyes were directed at Leon and Tony, who were sitting on the main seat. The virus that has left scientists all over the world helpless. The brothers successfully conquered the problem in just 2 days. Now even if someone shouts that Stark is God, they will probably believe it. There's no need to get all worked up, guys. I know you're probably thinking, wow, was God playing a joke on me when I woke up today? Tony pushed Leon aside and performed alone. But this is the fact. I swear in the name of Iron Man that the doomsday is over. It ends today. He opened his arms exaggeratedly, as if to embrace the whole world. But no one in the world responded to him. because everyone's head was dizzy from the sudden pie. Well, shouldn't you guys be doing something now? Tony posed for a few seconds, waving his fingers awkwardly, like cheering, screaming, and reveling. Everyone in the conference room suddenly woke up from their dream, shouting to fulfill Tony's wish. They rushed forward and threw him into the air, shouting Iron Man over and over again. Leon quietly retreated to the corner, helplessly looking at the brother who was being tossed up and down, smiling and shouting to be lifted higher. Your brother and you have somewhat different styles. King Ada stood aside. That's how he is. He has a strong desire to perform, Leon said. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't you realize that you have a strong desire to show off? Ada couldn't help laughing. I mean, he's more flamboyant, and you like to keep a low profile and then make a splash when everyone is least expecting it. Leon raised his eyebrows. Thank you so much for helping us find the common ground between us brothers. You're welcome. Ada hooked Leon's palm with her little finger. They're going to party again, so today the old place. Leon replied. Okay, boss. Ada blinked. However, the carnival that Tony had been dreaming of never took place. In a doomsday environment, there are not so many resources and time to waste. Moreover, after hearing the news that the new virus was successfully developed, no one is willing to relax at this moment. Everyone is full of energy, with hope burning in their hearts. They can't wait to get the new virus and rush out of the city to regain lost territory. The first batch of volunteers to participate in the experiment were recruited on the spot. When asked, no one in the meeting room hesitated for even a second. They are not afraid of dying in the laboratory. They are only afraid that the experimental results will not be satisfactory. The civil servants recruited by Jill are indeed warriors who are willing to sacrifice and have a sense of justice. At the end of the experiment, the order was determined by drawing lots. Leon S. Kennedy, this new police officer, who had just received the lofty nickname Sangwang from his savior at the party the day before, had the honor of being the first in line. Half an hour later, in front of a closed laboratory in the Underground Research Institute, dozens of people stared at Kennedy on the other side of the high-strength glass. He was tied to the test table, his body full of tubes for injecting nutrient solution, and Leon, wearing a protective suit, injected the final form of the S-virus. Watching the golden virus fluid being injected into Kennedy's body, the volunteers queuing outside clenched their fists and said, Sangwang, hold on, you can do it. Sangwang, you can't fail to be given such a title by Mr. Leon. At the party the day before yesterday, Kennedy shyly asked Leon to give him a nickname. After serious thought, Leon said that Kennedy combines highlights, sunshine, and glimmers and must be called Three Lights. So Kennedy's nickname was decided. After the party, he proudly called himself Three Lights Kennedy. This nickname also made everyone in the police station envious. Now, every time they see Kennedy, they hug him by the neck and give him a few sarcastic comments. In the laboratory, Kennedy, who was injected with a virus liquid, suddenly felt his veins tense up, his muscles swelled, and he let out a shrill howl after a brief calm. His waist and back were still trying to rise up despite the restraints of the iron shackles, and he was about to break free from the shackles. Leon quickly pushed him back onto the test bench and remained calm no matter how he screamed and raged. Kennedy screamed for 7 minutes, and the people outside the laboratory were also worried for 7 minutes. After Kennedy calmed down, Leon observed him again with his X-ray eyes and then pinched his bones and muscles. It's done. The experiment was successful. The virus was strengthened smoothly. There are no signs of mutation. Next, Leon concluded, then lifted up the much heavier Kennedy and placed him on the bed outside the laboratory. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but jump up and scream and cheer. The following experiments went much more smoothly. With the precedent of Sangwang Kennedy, everyone was mentally prepared. Soon, Marvin, Elliot, Fatty, Carlos, and others were injected with the final type of the S virus one by one. Moreover, all the enhancements were successful and no one mutated. In order to improve efficiency, they also joined Lion's work and helped inject the virus. At night, all personnel in the temporary official ranks of the Republic of Colorado have completed the virus injection. Among more than 1,700 people, only one person was infected and mutated, but he recovered after being injected with antiviral serum. For the poor guy who had this happen to him, all Lion could say was good luck to him. Because of people who escaped the mutation outcome by injecting antiviral serum, antibodies have already been produced in the body. A second virus enhancement will not be possible. Therefore, in the coming era of global evolution, this group of people are destined to become the abandoned children of the times. If we really want to find a culprit, we can only let them blame the world consciousness. Arrange all those who have undergone virus enhancement to stay in the Institute for Isolation and Observation. Leon took Ada, Jill, and Shirley back to the laboratory again. This time, he injected the 3 people with the SS2 serum that combined the characteristics of the extremis virus. After serum injection, all 3 of them have super regenerative abilities, except for Shirley, who is still growing. Jill and Ada even turned into little superheroes with a strength of over 40 tons and a running speed close to the speed of sound. And in the following period of time, their physical fitness will continue to improve. But Lion was surprised. After hearing the world consciousness's choice of evolutionary potion, the 3 of them expressed their understanding. They actually think that the possibility of the world's continued evolution should not be stifled. This made Lion reflect on whether he had misunderstood the world consciousness too much, or perhaps the other party was not that radical after all. In the following days, the Stark brothers observed and confirmed that all those who had been successfully enhanced showed no abnormal symptoms. The temporary official formed by Jill began to popularize the final type of the S virus throughout the city. Anyone who is willing to undergo virus enhancement will be provided with a full range of services. People in this city obviously have great trust in the interim officials. As soon as the announcement was released, the registration location was packed with people. Some people even called Jill the Goddess of Victory and shouted that they would do anything for the Goddess of Victory. Over the past month, it has always been Jill who has been at the forefront, blocking the deadly attacks from super zombies forever one. She has won the support of the people in this country the other side. While the virus strengthening work in Raccoon City is in full swing, Leon and Tony also completed the injection experiment of SS3 serum. Alright legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.